Ladies and gentlemen, let's go. Let's go. We ain't got no time to waste. Let's go. You are now listening to Jason Anderson, and you are in the zone.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
But to me, this is not going to be a high-scoring game, Jim, because these two defenses are going to make you drive the field. The clock's going to run a lot because they're going to be consistently checking it down, running the football. Every once in a while, you get a big play. But this is going to be a 24-20 type of game, maybe 30 if somebody goes off.
It's very spooky in here. I ain't playing no games.
You're in the zone on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Yeah.
I kind of want to do the lead for Curtis in the program when he throws it to Seren. And now, the man who wishes Tony Romo would have predicted a 27-24 type of game, Seren Petro. Right you are, Kay. Right you are. It is the zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, and Beards. We head up until 2 o'clock. We've got you for the next 4 hours. Let you know right away, 913-381-0810. Load them up. We'll take your phone calls the first couple of hours, 913-381-0810. Phone line's already ringing. 913-381-0810. I know people want to weigh in on this. I thought it was an interesting post-game show yesterday, so we're just going to replay that for the next couple of hours. I'm going to take a seat.
Look, man.
Listen in, and we'll wait till we talk with Field Yates coming up at noon. Hear from Andy Reid at about noon 30 or so. Learn funniest best. That's what we'll get to. First couple of hours, just re-rack the post-game show because I feel like a lot of the stuff we'll talk about here is the stuff that was covered yesterday. But many people probably, or I should say, there's probably people that did not listen or just turned off everything
Disagree.
And said, you know what, I'm just going to move on.
Think we've covered everything that could be covered in all of Kansas City.
That's exactly
do
right.
That little magic trick where you tap the knob on the headphones. I've lost all audio over here. Just give it a little fiddle for me.
It was also turned down really quietly. Is that better?
Oh, yes, right. What you just did, it's like my ears just popped on an airplane. I can suddenly hear again. Hey, Jason, I can see you now.
Exactly. I had all the knobs cranked up.
You're cranking knobs.
And that's exactly right. 913-381-0810 is the phone number. 913-912-4810 is the text line to be a part of the show, part of the conversation. Field Yates coming up at noon. Andy Reid at 12:30. We will have some Learn Funniest Best. I've got Mick Schaefer on the format there. I forgot to erase that.
Yeah.
I forgot to erase Mick. Just erase him. Where's the eraser?
I'll do you one better.
Yeah. Just do. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Showing up on a Monday after a Chiefs loss.
Yeah. How about that? You know who was here last Monday? Yeah, Mick. You know who was here the Monday before after the Bucs game? Mick. You know who missed the Monday after the Colts game?
Wow.
Mick.
Scared of a loss.
Wow. I mean, unbelievable. Oh, I got a golf tournament. It's for charity. Whatever. All right, so...
Good causes. Okay, Mick, you selfish
person.
You selfish Mick.
That's how the show lines up. All right, let's get into the show. What did we see yesterday in the loss to the Bills, 24-20, getting ready now for the 49ers, and then a bye week, hopefully getting some players back, certainly getting Willie Gay back, we know that. We'll see about Trent McDuffie, getting him back, but they were missed in the game. There were plays that could have been made. We'll get into some of those things, the individual parts of the game, some of the individual units offensively and defensively that we can get into in the game. Game-changing plays, Von Miller being a game changer. But what I watched were the two best teams in the AFC. I watched a game in which either team could have won many different times. There were plays that if the Chiefs made, they win that game. There were plays that if the Bills would have made, they win the game by more. Plays that if the Chiefs would have made, they win the game by, potentially double digits. Like this was a back and forth close game with two really good teams that, quite frankly, know how to win, that made some mistakes along the way because neither team is perfect. And one quarterback played brilliant, and the other quarterback played pretty good and had some mistakes that were made. I didn't think we'd be saying that about the particular quarterbacks when it's all said and done, that the quarterback that played brilliantly was Josh Allen, and the quarterback that played pretty good, didn't have a whole lot of protection at times, but also made some mistakes, being Patrick Mahomes. And that happens in a game. He's not a perfect quarterback. Neither is Josh Allen. Nobody is a perfect quarterback. But I thought we were watching the two best teams in the AFC. I thought it could have gone either way. And if they played this Sunday, I might pick the Chiefs to win. I picked the Bills to win this one. I didn't want to be right, but it happens. And if they played this Sunday, having watched the game, also knowing that you'd probably have Willie Gay and Trent McDuffie back, but even with the same players, even if Gay and McDuffie and Cook and Fenton all missed the game, even if the same players were out there, I'd probably pick the Chiefs to win this weekend because there were plays that could have been made. Doesn't mean they would. Could be the Bills winning by a lot more because there were plays that they could have made. But that's what happens in a back-and-forth game. It's what happens in the NFL. It's why they say any given Sunday. Because a play here or there can change the outcome. I don't know what happens in the game if on 3rd and 13 at their own 1-yard line for the Bills with 1:18 to play, the Chiefs get off the field. If it's an incomplete pass or it's a 5 or 6 or 7-yard gain and they punt the ball to the Chiefs and they get it at midfield with a 7-3 lead, getting the ball to start the second half. I don't know what happens the rest of the way. But I actually thought that was the biggest play of the game. An interception in the end zone by Patrick Mahomes certainly was costly. Interception at the end of the game obviously was costly. Some penalties along the way, some non-called penalties along the way were costly. But to me, that was the game-changing play that if you make it and get off the field, that game could have gone a whole lot different. Can you put 7 points on the board and be up 14-3 and get the ball to start the second half with a chance to go up 17-3 or 21-3? Instead, it's 10-7. And they did their thing that they do against the Bills, this time in 12 seconds. So if they meet in the playoffs, then they'll do it in 11 seconds. And then next year, when they play each other, do it in 10. Just to see how many seconds will it take before they cannot do that again.
We should see both of these guys and their teams play for at least a good decade from here. Just one, even if it's just once a year, they just shave off one of those seconds. We're going to get a 1-second miracle at some point in 2032, maybe?
Yeah, they play next year. We know that already at Arrowhead. So we already know they're going to match up. Doesn't matter where they finish in the division. The AFC West plays the AFC East, and the last time the East played the West, the Chiefs played in Buffalo. This time they'll play in Kansas City. So Buffalo fans will complain yet again of why do we always have to go to KC? Well, I mean,
same with us having to go to Tom Brady every year.
Yeah, it was always Chiefs at New England. Why do you always have to go to New England every time? And the Chiefs would win in the regular season and not in the postseason. And that has been the relationship with Bills and Chiefs over the last few years. Win in the regular season, but lose to the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game, lose to the Chiefs in the divisional round, and we will find out what happens this year. If that game is played in Buffalo, then yeah, pretty darn good chance that the Bills can go and win that game. Everybody healthy out there, including Tre'Davious White out there for the Bills, and everybody healthy for the Chiefs. I'll take my chances no matter where it's played, because it'll be players stepping up and making plays in the playoffs. And do they have a better game plan for Von Miller? Or is there a better game plan for Von Miller? Because he is just simply a game record. He's the defensive end version of a stud quarterback that it's like, well, you had everything planned perfectly, but that quarterback just simply made a play. I'm not saying that they had everything planned perfectly for Von Miller and he just made a play. I thought there were certain times where it was head-scratching of how they went about their protection scheme. The Chiefs had the 20-17 lead and had the ball with, 5 minutes to go, 6 minutes to go, and a real opportunity to just go and win the game. You're up 10 with 4 minutes to play, you win the game. Instead, it was a, 3rd and 10? Or 3rd and 7 because they got 3 yards. So it was a 3rd and 7 and you get sacked? No, it was
2nd and 7. Then Jerick McKinnon had that little handoff up to the left. Didn't get anything from it. Maybe a yard. 3rd and 6.
Right.
And then Von Miller does the Von Miller thing.
And it was head-scratching because they had Orlando Brown and Joe Thuney on Phillips, and they had Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith on Lawson. And they had Wiley one-on-one with Von Miller. If I were to be doubling somebody, I probably wouldn't choose to have Brown and Thuney doubling one guy, Creed and Trey Smith doubling one guy and leaving Andrew Wiley on an island with Von Miller. That's where it's like, even if you have the perfect play, they can go and do something. That's not the perfect protection scheme. It didn't make sense. They only brought 3, and yet Von Miller had a one-on-one with Wiley that he's just better than him, beat him around the edge. And you know what? It sucks because Kelsey was about to break free, and I think Juju Smith would have had like a 20-yard gain because he was just coming free in an over route across the middle, and Mahomes was waiting and waiting and waiting, and he couldn't wait any longer, and it was sack. There was nothing he can do at that point. You just needed about a half second more, and the Chiefs, I think, moved the chains to another pass to Juju, and who knows what happens after that. But players make plays. Scheme could be different. All of those things. If they played this weekend, I might pick the Chiefs just from what I saw. I still think the Bills are a better team. But in this one, it might be 5 versus 5 or 6 versus 4. So I'd take my chances on the Chiefs getting one right back after they just lost.
Yeah, and I think I would probably pick the Bills if they played again tomorrow. But you know what I think would be pretty consistent? The line. I don't think Vegas saw that one. Oh, man, we really overestimated the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I think for me, and it's sort of a weak first takeaway as, the final horn blows and I'm sitting here waiting to start the post-game show. And typically by the time the intro's played, I've got something building. Like, all right, well, here's where we're really headed today. And last night, what I realized within the first opening segment was a lot of things are interesting from this game, but nothing here changed my view of the Chiefs or the Bills. I now think the Chiefs have a pretty significantly lesser chance of hosting the AFC Championship game. But frankly, they won't be the first team that has a shot at Buffalo. If the Chiefs host the AFC Championship game, they could do it against somebody else because stuff happens. But in the AFC, do you know who the 3 seed is right now? I would not have known this before the postgame show.
I know this just because I had money on him yesterday to win outright. It's the Jets.
Got good odds on that. The Bills are 5-1. The Chiefs are 4-2. The Jets are 4-2. No one else in the AFC has 4 victories.
Yeah.
God bless the Jets. They're doing some nice stuff over there. What a nice little story. This is a 2-team conference at the top. And the home venue of the AFC Championship game, the odds on that shifted yesterday. Nothing else really should. These teams are, well, for lack of a better term, they are who we thought they were. Both of them.
Yeah.
The quarterbacks, the coaches, the offensive lines, and the pass rushes. On the Von Miller point in particular, I've got a lot on the Chiefs' offensive line versus the Bills' pass rush that I think is really interesting. Mitch Schwartz tweeted right after the game on the interception that Mahomes threw at the end.
Yeah.
He said Wiley had excellent protection on this play, and he had really good protection on the play Von got around the corner at 11 yards too. Yeah, Von got him on a spin earlier in the game. He's gotten everyone on that, but the 2 at the end of the game aren't on Wiley. I thought it was interesting because as much as I will not say every former player has every clue of every secret of all time, if there is one human being currently walking this planet who should be able to tell me how you handle or lose to Von Miller, it is Mitchell Schwartz. He's the only guy in football who I have ever seen really legitimately go punch for punch with Von Miller, and Von Miller has said as much. He said leading up to it this week, I think he called Mitch Schwartz one of the best tackles in the game ever, or one of the best right tackles of all time. Whatever the superlative was, it was very well earned. To your point from kind of the very beginning on, well, you don't want to just say it was perfect and he got you. But if you lose 2 or 3 reps to Von Miller in a game, I'll take a B- for a test you could not have studied any harder for. It's Von Miller. And doing it still at 33 years old is incredible. But he won some. All right. The offensive line wins the vast majority of pass rush snaps. That's just the nature of the position. It's why we talk so much about what I think it was after the Bucs game where Chris Jones had pressure on half of the snaps.
Yeah.
That bleep never happens. That's crazy. Von Miller gets you a couple of times. I'm not trying to ship Andrew Wiley out of town. I thought it was interesting that early in the game, Von Miller was over on Orlando Brown. And Von Miller moved away from Orlando Brown in this game. And then his more impactful pressures did come on Andrew Wiley's side, which I think is not all the way back to the preseason contract conversation, but a little feather in the cap of Orlando Brown holding his own in this game. The interior was a problem. Trey Smith had a rough game. The pressure was getting there at times, and Mahomes still navigated the pocket really well. All of this is back to sort of that same conclusion for me, which is I don't think either of these teams did anything foolish in this game. I don't think anybody made a fool of themselves. The Bills just won a couple of those toss-up matchups that went a little more in their favor. There's a lot, we can zoom in a lot more on some of the individual plays, and we should, because there's a ton to unpack there. But even when you go, man, Von Miller versus Andrew Wiley, that was the game. Andrew Wiley gave this offense and gave Mahomes plenty of opportunities to do something with the football with a little bit of time. Von Miller took a couple of those opportunities as well. Welcome to football.
Mm-hmm.
That is a gladiatorial sort of battle there, and Von Miller is going to get you a few times. Even on the play we say, hey, how is he the one-on-one matchup? There were tweets about Josh Williams in this regard as well. Sometimes you just got a guy that you don't love in your one-on-one matchup, and you say, hey, man, just die a slow death. Yeah. Just don't get beheaded in one swoop here and just hold on for dear life, because maybe we don't want to shift the protection this way because of what the play is going to be. Maybe we don't want to chip with Travis Kelce because we need him to be the first read on this pass route. Sometimes you just get those matchups, and the other guy just wins.
Yeah.
That's sort of my, very zen takeaway from this game at this point. Godzilla versus King Kong, I haven't actually seen the most recent one, but I imagine one of them probably wins. In the NFL, one of them's going to win.
Texts and tweets want to correct the 3 seed versus third best record in the AFC, because 3 seed
fair enough.
Be
would be the Bills.
Division,
Great. Yeah,
but third best record right now
on October 17th. Yes, but correct.
Yeah. If the season ended today, the Jets would be the 5 seed. Right. Which is absurd. They got the third best record in the 5 seed. But yeah, and you know what? The Bills play the Jets twice. So maybe the Jets get them once. Maybe the Bills punk them twice.
Would be wonderful to see the AFC East actually get to knock the favorite down a peg or two. Yeah. That hasn't happened since 1996.
Right. 913-381-0810. We'll get to some phone calls. I do want to play this clip first before we get to a couple of those that are on hold. Hey, Beards, can we hear...
Ooh, we got it.
He said he's dealing with something right now. We can't play a clip? Is the computer not working?
Oh, dear.
Is the computer working? Not working?
I'm nervous now.
Heads up.
I haven't seen Beards, but...
He and Todd are having a conversation.
Since the Drake's gone this week, I'm doing Drake stuff as well. So I had a little thing pop up. We're good now. I'm good.
Can you play Mahomes' offensive line play versus Buffalo, as we were talking about that?
No, I thought they did a good job of just kind of getting – there were some that Vaughn obviously made plays. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer for a reason, so he's going to make plays here and there. But then there were some that they played good coverage and were in the right spots at the right time. So it's about me finding a way to get the ball in my hands, finding outlet throws and stuff like that. But I think for the most part, I thought the offensive line did a good job. It was just a couple plays. And, I mean, they have a good defense, and they're going to make some plays throughout the game.
I thought for the most part they did a good job. I also think, there are still questions about this running game that when the Bills drop 8 as often as they did, they were bringing 3 and Milano was the spy, which is what happened on that last play.
Yep.
That, Andrew Wiley pushes Von Miller inside, so it allows the escape route for Patrick Mahomes. He thought he was going to have a little more room, but Milano was spying. He didn't pass rush. They brought 3, Milano spied, and then he closed ground on Mahomes pretty quickly. And Mahomes had to throw it. I'd rather him not force it there, but also did he see that person who was supposed to be fading back and guarding MVS, who was open, behind him, but Mahomes was running, and then you got a guy in his face, and it's like, oh, can you then see 2 levels down, because we're watching from a different angle, can you see through Sky Moore, through number 7, Johnson, Jackson, whatever his name is, to then see 11 to where he has 4 yards in front of the safety, but number 7 was supposed to be there in that defensive coverage. All of those things are happening in a split second where he's looking from ground level. It happens. It happens. They made a good play. Milano made a good play. They had a good scheme on that particular one. But I would like to see this offensive line. It's they played well against Buffalo. Maybe in pass protection from a bigger picture standpoint. Mm-hmm. But if they're bringing 4 or bringing 3 Milano's a spy, how are you not able to run the football more? How are you not able to have more success? Singletary was running it down their throat. He averaged 5 yards per carry, and his long was 14. So he averaged essentially 5 yards per carry, where it's each and every time he touched the ball, here's 5, 6, 7 yards. It got pretty annoying. That's what the Chiefs did against the Bucs, where they were setting up second and shorts, third and easier plays, and it resulted in them moving up and down the field. They haven't been able to run the ball really before or since at a consistent level outside of that Bucs game where the offensive line was challenged Go out there and prove, challenge, go show that you're better than what you were against the Colts. And they did. They haven't done it since in being able to run the football. So maybe it's the offensive line. Maybe it's the running backs are generic. Maybe it's the scheme and the play calls from the head coach and the offensive coordinator with the running backs and the offensive linemen they have that isn't matching up. Skill level, scheme, blocking, execution, all of that. Either way, it seems to be pretty non-existent.
I have a lot of thoughts and questions about the running game that we can get into as we go. I didn't know if you wanted to also work your way to Mahomes talking about that pick and with Milano closing in there, because some of these Mahomes clips, I texted you guys last night that I just thought some of the Mahomes clips yesterday were just like pretty honest assessments of what he saw. I didn't feel like there was a whole lot of smoke screening for Mahomes or anything. So if you're kind of curious about what he was seeing depth field wise and everything with Milano coming in on that last pick, I thought his breakdown of that was pretty straightforward.
Let's bring in Travis real quick.
Let's do that. Sure.
He's been waiting a while, so we'll bring in Travis and we'll take a break, get to some more phone calls. Travis, go right ahead. What's on your mind, sir? Lead us off today.
Well, Jason, I think the answer to your running back question is we don't have a good running back.
Because probably.
We were at the game yesterday, and I mean, I can't tell you how many times a cutback breaks Clyde for 10, 15 yards, and he wanted to Larry Johnson smash his way into the line, and I just don't know. If everybody talks about Pacheco not having vision, I think that he has a vision problem as well. I know that there's a lot of good free agent running backs coming up this year. I don't know if you want to spend your cap on that, but yeah, they definitely need to upgrade that position. I think that's why they don't run, is because they don't have confidence in just carrying the ball. And then one other thing, or two other things real quick. So we were sitting behind the Chiefs sideline pretty close, and I can tell you emphatically that Eric Bieniemy was sitting with Mahomes. I know he's making a big deal about that. Eric Bieniemy was actually sitting with Mahomes a majority of the game. Him and Mickey both were right there talking with him through the game. And then the last thing I wanted to bring up, and I'm not blaming it on this. I know that Gabe Davis got away with a push off, and then they called it on Kelsey. The stadium went crazy, and then it was getting the "you suck" refs, and we booed for however long we booed. But something that I noticed, and I hope it doesn't become a problem, is Kelsey was really upset with the refs, and then after he made, they came back and they made the first down after the penalty, and he was stalling the refs, and Holmes actually ran through everybody and grabbed him and was pointing like, go back to the line, go back to the line. It seems like our guys are getting really, really overly frustrated, and rightly so, with some of these calls. And so I think it's something to keep an eye on, because Mahomes actually had to go get him and pull him away from the referee. So and then Juju got called, for the stupid taunting. Probably don't know what he said. We'll never know.
Well, he pointed to a first down. He didn't even say anything. His mouth never moved.
Is that what it was? I mean, we couldn't tell.
He did the whole thing where they have the fingers across the nose that's going on, which is a big thing that everybody's doing in football now. He did that, but then pointed first down, and that was enough to get a 15-yard taunting penalty. Which, by the way, the Chiefs never got back to the spot where Juju was tackled
and then
on that play.
Too, just real quick. Honestly, I know they lost, and I don't like Josh Allen. I think it sucks they lost. I feel like Chiefs gave the game away. I mean, the Bills played a good game, but I feel like the Chiefs did more than enough to win, and they shot themselves in the foot with penalties, obviously with no calls on certain penalties here and there. I mean, they stalled out drives. The offensive line wasn't great, and I still feel like if everybody just does their job, they probably win yesterday. And that's all I got. You guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you next week.
Travis, I appreciate the phone call, man. 913-381-0810. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling more Zone right after this.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Jason loves talking. I don't know about you, but Jason is a fan of Jason's show.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Gambling problem.
I mean, even coming back from break, he can't just have some fun and do some of those things. Whether that was a mistake or 40, or if that was unaccidentally, purposefully done, whatever. Was that because I said that I had money on the Jets money line?
I just hadn't put in a music clip yet.
Oh, I see. That makes sense.
I think we should just double up. Nobody cares with that disclaimer. Just came on problem. Just so we can make sure we've got you covered. You know, we're worried about you.
913-912-4810 is the text line. Some text coming in. Text that says, so the Chiefs have the greatest coach of all time, greatest quarterback ever, greatest tight end ever, and all of that amounts to 2 touchdowns yesterday.
Is anybody saying Andy Reid's the best coach ever?
Well, no. See, that's a straw man.
But also, like, I don't know. It's like with the Von Miller thing. Other teams get to play also.
Yeah.
Like, the Bills were favored in this game at Arrowhead because people largely on the consensus thought the Bills were a little bit of a better football team altogether. Like, the Eagles don't have the greatest coach or quarterback in the NFL. I'm not sure they have the best coach or quarterback in the NFC East, and they're one of the best teams in football because that roster is overwhelming from top to bottom. The Bills' defense has more talent and more experience within it right now than the Chiefs does, and the Chiefs are doing it without, at least 2.5 starters. I mean, 2 starters and 2 role players, maybe 3 starters if you want to include Turk Wharton. I'm not because he's not coming back. But just the Willie Gay, Trent McDuffie, Brian Cook, Rashad Fenton stance, like those are 3.5 starters depending on how what sub packages you're playing.
A couple of other things too is from the same texter, so clearly frustrated with the game yesterday. Says one thing Josh Allen knows for sure: he has an offense that can score when they need it. The Chiefs' offense is. It was made average by the Bills' defense.
Hold on. Okay, so real quick here. So 20 points means you've been made average. 24 points means you can score whenever you want.
Because
that is the argument.
Well, yeah, because the Bills they didn't want to score in the other possessions. They
the
only
Bills
wanted to
could
score.
do whatever they wanted.
Right.
To the tune of 24 points. The Chiefs' offense couldn't do anything to the tune of 20 points.
Yeah.
You're playing the results, and you are playing barely divergent numbers. Hey, also, if Harrison Butker hits a kick he should have made, now it's 23-24. 1 point difference now is the difference between an offense that can do whatever it wants and an offense that can't get anything going. It's just a bad process there.
Also, that they only scored when they wanted to because they didn't want to score on the other possessions that they didn't score on. Same texter again, frustrated. Said same old Chiefs defense can't get a stop to win the game. Again, they gave up 24 points without Gay.
The best offensive football without 3 opening day starters and your third safety.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's where I mean, look, man, you don't have to come through and say like this Chiefs team actually showed to me that they're better than the Bills or this team is going to be fine or whatever. But like you don't have to make stuff up. You don't have to say one team scored at will, one team couldn't score even when they desperately needed to. When there's a 4-point difference, 3 points would have been 1 point if a kicker makes a kick. I don't know what we're doing here.
That's right. Tex says, I saw the same 2 teams going toe-to-toe yesterday, changed the jersey, and the differences aren't obvious. Tex says, my humble opinion, the 2 best teams in the NFL played yesterday. Yes, there was mistakes made, but I didn't see anything to, and then it cuts off. So I'm not sure. May have just pressed send.
It's a nice start to the text. You know,
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
This text says, all you can talk about is criticizing your callers. Must be nice and sit up there on the high throne.
We only had one. Is that about that? That's not came up with that text.
Well, no,
we just talked
callers.
about that text.
What said callers?
The one
that Travis that we
largely agreed with. Plenty of points.
And then we went to break.
This is weird. Maybe that was about postgame last night, which I don't feel like I disagreed with that many callers and that many things, but you know.
Plus, I'm not really sitting up very high. I mean, I'm taller than Josh in real life, but we're eye to eye right now, so that would be like a low throne, right?
Sorry, I forgot that you did ask me to. There we go. I lowered my chair to the lowest possible. You may not look down on me. Whoa, Jason just
now I'm
lowered his
looking up at you.
Now we are really taking whatever the opposite of the high road is.
Yeah, I'm now the person that goes up to the podium when there's a taller person before them. and they speak, and then the second person gets up there and they do not lower the mic, and they just have to look up at the mic when they're doing that. Those that are seeing this on TV get a better visual of the low throne that we're on right now. Josh is on the lowest of low three. You know what? Screw you, Josh. I'm going down underneath the desk.
Yeah,
with you.
not to be outdone. Whoa, excuse me. You're gonna what? Not to be outdone, I am now sitting on the floor. Believe it or not, and you will believe it, this is not the first time I've done live radio while sitting on the floor for a bit. But I will not be looked up to. I will only be looked down upon.
You will not look up to me, child.
You will not
look down on me.
You will not. Charles Barkley could have gone a lot further back in the day. Not only am I not a role model, and everybody buy my sneakers, you will not look up to me. Literally, I will lay on the ground before you look up to me.
A lot of texts coming in that are, I'm not going to read them individually, sort of the same thing about Pacheco. Give Pacheco the ball. Maybe
yeah,
give Pacheco
I would
the ball
like to see more of that. Sure.
Totally good with that. Absolutely. I'm down with that. Anything at this point.
He looks explosive. He moves with some violence, and the rest of this running back room is really frustrating at times.
Let's bring in Kyle next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Kyle, go right ahead, sir.
Hey, thank you for taking my call, guys.
Thank you for being a part of the show, man.
Yeah, thank you. Well, let me tell you what. Last night, real quick, I was glad that over the painful loss last night, I got to watch the Cowboys lose. So that's cool. 2 quick points. I think our defense played really well to win the game yesterday. Our defense made a few key stops, and the Chiefs should have scored on, and should have capitalized. The Chiefs had opportunities to go down and score and put this game away when we had the lead, and they couldn't do it. So that's my first point. So our defense played really well. My second point is our offensive line. I'm not going to blame it on one guy like I did last night on Orlando Brown, but it seemed like our offensive line really struggled last night. Andrew Wiley, Orlando Brown, our running game, there was just no blocking. And I was sitting in the end zone, and I was at the game yesterday sitting in the end zone seats, and there were times where the guys were really slow off the ball, off the snap.
Mm-hmm.
So they couldn't – our offensive line just couldn't get any blocking. And so my third point is, in the first half, and I hate blaming refs, I really do, but the first half, that's the most penalties I've ever seen in the first half. And the calls were absolutely ridiculous. And I was watching replays, and I'm going, this is getting to the point of ridiculous. So you have the taunting call on Juju Smith-Schuster. I don't know if that happened in the first half or the second half. I can't remember. But after that, there was a play on the defender where on the Bills defender went and tackled our running back, and he stood over him and taunted him while he was on the ground, and they didn't throw a flag on that. So I don't know what's taunting anymore. I don't know what's considered taunting or not taunting, but the refs are really starting to tick me off because they're inconsistent. I'm seeing more inconsistencies by these refs. So I'll listen off the air, guys, but thank you for taking my call.
Kyle, I appreciate it, man. What a dumb call. How dumb. No, I'm joking.
How dumb are you?
I agree with the part that the defense played well enough to win. I mean, the offense can't score 20 points and win. I mean, they obviously can score 20 points because they did. But you don't go into that game and say 20 points is going to be good enough to win. You cannot put your defense in a position to say, hey, hold them to 17 or 20. Hold them to at least 20 with the field goal, or at most 20 with the field goal, so the Chiefs can get the ball back and a field goal wins it, that you don't need a touchdown. You've put your defense in a position to have to come up with stop after stop after stop after stop after stop. And the taunting, the issue is that there is no consistency with it. It's a time and a place. Choose when you want to do it, when not. There was one official stood right next to Juju Smith-Schuster, didn't know the flag. The other official ran in there and then threw the flag. One official said that's not taunting. The other official said that is taunting. They both saw the exact same thing. That's the issue.
That was exactly my takeaway at that time.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, was that one of the refs was right there, and I think she just was walking Juju away a little bit.
Fine, like, hey,
and the other ref came bombing in, just throwing flags, just because that is what
you
it is.
pointed to a first down in front of the Bills bench.
Did you wipe your nose? That is where it becomes whenever something is about your personal feeling of what you are personally offended by.
That's right.
Well, it's going to be super duper inconsistent, and the NFL has an obvious inconsistency problem across all its judgment calls. No more so than taunting, though. Taunting is the perfect example.
And look, it's difficult because my son was a big fan of Juju. He was a big fan of Juju Smith-Schuster. And then he saw that, and then
he gouged his eyes out, which I thought was an overreaction. But I mean,
he
what he deserved.
He was crying.
Yeah,
I couldn't really find the words to explain to him that why even good people do really bad things,
like heinous criminal.
Yeah,
like really horrible stuff.
And I'm just happy that the NFL is going to make sure that I have that I'm able to avoid those conversations in the future.
Have you called the FCC?
I was thinking about it, but I decided I didn't want to waste my time. My wife talked me down from a lot of the things that I wanted to do about Juju and what he did.
Talk me all the way down to the ground right now.
That's right.
Low man wins.
913-381-1010. Let's take a quick timeout. We'll get back into the phone calls coming up next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Brisco, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Sometimes when my eyes are glazed over, it means I'm not paying attention, and more often it means I'm really working on a barbecue pun.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Nine 913-912-4810 is the text line to be a part of the show, part of the conversation. 913-381-810 is the phone number. I want to get to a couple of texts, and then we'll get into the phone calls. 913-381-810. Text comes in, says, Chiefs lost because Mahomes' first interception cost us a field goal. Second interception, he never should have thrown the ball except out of bounds. Plenty of time on the clock would have given it would have stopped. The Chiefs still have 2 timeouts. Could regroup, got the right personnel in. Andrew Wiley was bad. Orlando Brown wasn't good either. Answer this, guys. We put 5 or 6 in the box on defense. Can't stop the run. Buffalo put 3 or 4 in the box. They manhandled our offensive line. We need new left and right tackles.
Other than that, though.
Yeah, that's fine. I didn't think they played as bad as some are making it out to be. I thought it was interesting that Von Miller moved to go up against Andrew Wiley in the game as opposed to going up against Orlando Brown.
Oh, so you listened to the postgame show last night.
Also the first segment, I think. But you actually weren't listening to that because
I wasn't.
You were emotionally in Wichita, I suppose.
Yes.
Yeah. 913-912-4810.
The three of us will listen to every topic one time at least.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe not more than that.
That's right. 913-912-4810. Text says the last 3 games Kansas City Chiefs lost at home. Mahomes, last 3 games Kansas City Chiefs lost. Mahomes had the ball with a chance to win the game. He threw an interception. It's hard to be the Grim Reaper without Tyreek Hill. Just saying. I'm trying to think back. What was the interception against the Colts? I know it was tipped. They were down by 3. They had, 18 seconds left on the clock when that happened.
I'll let you sift through that. Here's my real quick take on that last pick last night.
Yeah.
They needed 7 points. I mean, they were down by 4.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter when he throws that pick, if he throws the pick. If they don't score a touchdown, the result's exactly the same.
Yeah.
And Mahomes talked about both of the picks after the game. Maybe we get to that audio next hour or whatever.
I do want to.
I just don't think that that's when I'm going to lose any sleep over. Was he trying to do too much? Yeah, sure. Because he had a minute to go get a touchdown. And sometimes Patrick Mahomes doing unbelievable stuff is the result of him trying to do something unbelievable. And sometimes he gets picked by a nice play. It's a little annoying to me for people who have been watching Patrick Mahomes play crazy football in this town for the last few years to now be like, oh, Mahomes got to know when to tuck it. I don't think it's 60 yards from the end zone with a minute left against the Bills down 4. That's the time I think you try to make a play.
Yep. Let's bring in Dakota to the conversation. 913-381-810. Dakota, go right ahead. What's on your mind?
You guys kind of touched on the defense thing. I think the defense actually played really well. I would have changed a little bit of the scheming. Like early in the first half, Spags was throwing blitzes and it was working, and then the Bills came out and they changed their game plan, and all of a sudden the blitz wasn't working as well. But the main things I wanted to touch on is I actually think Patrick Mahomes played a much better game than Josh Allen yesterday. Minus the 2 picks. The one was kind of, you have that sometimes in the end zones. He made a good throw, and it just didn't go our way. And then the other one, dude made a good play. But I do think that he played actually a lot better than Josh Allen. The other thing is everybody talked about the refs. I would rather see a game like yesterday where they let them play a whole lot than interject themselves. But I also think that the tripping that everybody was complaining about on Chris Jones, I also feel like he was being held, and he kind of thought that, so he was like, screw it, I'm just going to stick my foot out,
It was a pretty obvious trip, though.
The main thing, I think the big turning point, really, was when, I believe it was 3rd and 10, I might be wrong, it was a big 3rd down, and Frank Clark was chasing Josh Allen out of the pocket to the left side, and their left tackle straight up turned around and grabbed him by the back of the shirt and pulled him back, which obviously kept him from getting all the way to Josh Allen to make that play, and he scrambled for a first down. But I'll let you guys deliberate on that, and I'll listen on the radio.
Dakota, thank you for the call, man. I appreciate it. I thought the defense played well as well. It's a few calls that we've had. The Bills adjusted to the blitz. I want to get into that as well, that early on it seemed like the defense was working. Josh Allen was struggling. They had 3 points on the board until the last drive of the second half, or the second quarter, and that also was a 3rd and 13 at their own 1-yard line. Text comes in, says, Brian from Buffalo. Addressing injuries, Bills were also missing 2 of the best players in White and Hyde. Penalties were missed on both sides for sure. Obvious trip on Allen that was missed. Great game, though. Enjoy listening to you guys. Looking forward to the next matchup. Yeah, look, I think there were penalties missed all over the place. It gets frustrating when, Gabe Davis catches a touchdown and it was an obvious push-off on Josh Williams. Travis Kelce's push-off was called. That would have been 1st and 10 at the 11-yard line.
I don't want either of those called.
Right, neither of them.
Everyone wants them to be consistent.
Right.
I'd like them to be both no calls.
Yeah, neither of them I wouldn't want called, to be honest with you. I'm with you. Like, they call one, they don't call the other. The taunting, they don't call. The tripping was certainly missed. That's true. The holding on Frank Clark, there were some issues all over the board. I don't really think they let him play. I think they inserted themselves a few times as well. But, yeah, the game could have gone either way. Went the Bills' way this time.
Zarda Barbecue.
The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Cynthia, are you okay with Beards playing the returner with the amazing English? I was curious about that as Cynthia Freeland is our guest, NFL Network's analytics expert. Okay, good.
I love it. I own it. I own what I say. We're good.
Good, because we make fun of ourselves all the time, and we play things back all the time of when we mess up, as I just said, when we mess up talking.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB, 913-381-810, taking your phone calls for the next hour. We'll talk with Field Yates coming up at noon. Andy Reid around 12:30 or so, 913-381-810. This text comes in, says, so if the two teams swap jerseys for yesterday's game, would 95 and red finally get some holding calls when the blockers are trying to pull the shirt off?
Still
I don't know. Probably not.
No.
He's
He's too big.
Yeah.
He's too big to ever look like I think, did you make the Shaq comparison for Chris Jones last week?
Yeah.
I think that there's something to that. He looks like an absolute, I haven't seen Alien or Predator, but I don't know. Which one of those is the bigger killing machine in your judgment? Probably
Predator is what I would go with, just because, Alien, you went to outer space to deal and then you ran into an alien.
Great point. Yeah, that happens.
Predator came to our planet.
Great point.
Right.
And Chris Jones, as a defender, is going to the other planet to hunt.
That's right.
As opposed to Patrick Mahomes. Okay, so Patrick Mahomes is alien. Chris Jones is Predator.
Yeah.
Keep him on the same team, though.
That's right. Come on! Do it! Come on, kill me. I'm right here. Come on.
I understand this reference.
Come on, right here.
Not from the actual movie, of course.
Come on, do it. Do it. I'm right here. Come on. And that is obviously from Alien.
Exactly. Correct. Right. Which is very strange. I didn't remember Arnold Schwarzenegger being in Prometheus, but
oddly enough, Field of Dreams.
No, weird.
Come on.
I want you to build it.
Build it. I'm right here. I'm your dad. I can come back to life if you build it. Come on. Do it. I'm right here. Corn. 913-381-810.
Is this heaven? No, it's Planet Zargon. What?
And then whatever the sound the Predator makes, which might be the scariest sound in the history of sounds.
I don't know if I have that impression in me. I thought about going for you, but I don't know that I got it.
There's no chance. Who could possibly do an impression of the Predator? No, you can't do an impression. That's not even close. That was just somebody that looked like they were being strangled or sounded like that.
I was trying to just make a shrieking noise, man. It's live radio.
Would you rather walk through the jungle and hear a lion roar in the distance?
Oof.
Or the Predator sound?
I guess in real life, I'd rather hear the Predator sound because my instinct would be, well, that's got to be somebody doing a bit. If I hear a lion roar, I'm seeing if I can get in one last phone call.
No. Because
the lion might just be full. The lion might not want to hunt you. Predator's definitely hunting. Yeah, good point.
So,
Beards, can we get the Predator sound, please, at some point? Can we get that on hotkeys? Yeah. I was trying to do the rolling kind of.
I know what a lion sounds like. If I hear the lion, I'm like, I know that's a lion. I need to do something. If I hear that, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what I'm doing at that point.
I would say that regardless, my first instinct is either opposite direction or, much like in the first hour of the show today, just try to get low.
Yeah. Let's go to Tracy next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Tracy, go right ahead. What's on your mind?
Hey, thank you for taking my call, my friend.
Yep.
Hey, on Mondays after a Chiefs loss, why don't you name your show Whining Mondays? Today, all I hear is, and you usually have some very passionate callers. You usually have some very educated callers, and I know they are a very passionate fan base. But they don't understand the Chiefs were underdogs yesterday. They were -3. They were supposed to lose this game yesterday. So I don't understand why everyone is all upset. And I did bet Buffalo Bills yesterday, and I can text you my ticket. And I'm a Chiefs fan. I am a Chiefs fan. Yeah. But why are they whining and complaining? This is the first time Mahomes has been an underdog at home, my friend. It's the first time. And I don't understand why all your callers are whining and upset and mad about a loss. Buffalo has the better defense, and they played it yesterday. And Josh Allen is just as good a quarterback as Pat Mahomes. Vegas very rarely gets these things wrong. And my last point, how would you like to be that gentleman that walked into Hollywood Casino? I don't know who he was, and I didn't see him, but it spread through the casino Saturday night like wildfire. There was a gentleman that walked in there Saturday and put $80,000 down on the money line on Kansas City to win. That's a true story. If you don't believe me, you can Google it. And so he's got something to whine about. Not all these callers that you guys are talking to. And Mr. Brisco, I'll see you Thursday night, my friend. You have a good day.
I look forward to it.
Tracy, appreciate the phone call, man. 913-381-0810. The general perspective of, like, today being a day where, yeah, there's going to be some complaints and criticism, but perspective of, yeah, it's Bills, Chiefs. They're two really good teams, best teams in the AFC.
I believe Tracy, but I hadn't heard this, so I just went ahead and Googled it. And the Hollywood Casino, Kansas Speedway, out there Thursday nights to hang out. They put out the ticket, $80,000 to win $176,000 on the Chiefs money line plus 120.
Yeah, and here's the thing: if you're betting $80,000, the 176 probably isn't going to change your life.
I guess, man, but I'm looking at this ticket, and just to be honest, I want to vomit. I want to barf.
Look, losing $80,000 is still $80,000 no matter what. Like, you don't want to do that. But if you're betting $80,000, it's like sometimes when we see these tickets that are tweeted out of like, oh man, this guy won $15,000 on the Jody Fortson anytime touchdown.
Exactly.
It's like, he bet $3,000 on one person to score a touchdown.
That's right.
That $15,000 is not going to be a difference maker for somebody, as in, or if you put $1 on a 30-team parlay,
that's
and
different.
It hit
exactly,
and you got $15,000 because you only put $1 down.
Right.
If you're betting $3,000 for one person and an anytime touchdown, either you got the money to spare, or you got a real problem, and 1-800-bets off is probably what you need to go with. But yeah, so like the $80,000, yeah, that sucks for that guy or girl, whatever. But probably
you're right. I just don't. I don't have all that perspective staring at the ticket in front of me. You're 100% correct. I just feel ill.
I also don't think it's been as negative on the calls. Am I hearing?
I think you and I both smelled the chum in the water of that one texter, to be honest. And I feel like we both really had a lot to respond to there. Here's the truth of it, just like a little inside radio, both from like how it goes today, how it goes on post game and everything. Mm-hmm. I find myself spending less time responding to callers who I agree with because I don't have anything that I feel like a responsibility to correct. If you call in and you say Patrick Mahomes was terrible in this game because all he cares about is looking good, I would say, well, that's the next 10 minutes, unfortunately, because I have to make sure everybody knows how terrible of a take that was, and I don't want to give that take any oxygen. If you call in and you have a really nuanced perspective, I'll be like, good call, Tracy. Appreciate it. Talk to you next week. Yeah. So I think that that's a little bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy that happens just by the nature of a conversation with someone you agree or disagree with.
And I think also part of what we do or what sports fans do in general, the game happened. The general takeaway that we talked about was these are the two best teams, play here, play there. Either team could have won. It's a great game. Probably see each other in the playoffs. Now, what happened in the game, can it be corrected?
Right.
How do the Chiefs go about if and when they do see them again to make sure the result is different than this go around? And I think that's part of where it comes in. Is it whining, or is it hey, the offensive line in the running game, what's the deal there? Because if they play again, you'd probably need a running game to counter the fact that they were bringing 3 and Milano was a spy, and then they were dropping 7/8 with Milano that can be in coverage as well. I think that's more of, it may come off as whining or being upset or annoyed, and it might also come off as like, hey, this has to be corrected because this isn't about trying to win the West, it's about trying to win a Super Bowl.
Yes.
And that's the team you're probably now going to have to go through. So how do you do that? I think there were plays on both sides. The Chiefs very easily could have won that game. They didn't. So what happens the next time they get together? And how do you go about winning the game? And have you corrected some of the things that got you in this one?
Here's my my brand new segment, Josh's Critical Take. Because I do think it's been... I like that. Actually, we started doing Price is Right.
I know, yeah. Come on, give the take. Come on. Is that the intro? Josh's critical take. Come on.
All of this is good. All of this, I love a little Foley work, a cappella production value. This is all excellent.
Great.
There aren't that many individual places that you should be pulling out your hair from last night's game. But I do think you could make some bigger... If you want to be critical today, here's one thing I would say. How did this team begin the 2022 NFL season relying on Frank Clark to be something he has never been in a red and white uniform?
Yeah.
How do you get to this point where Carlos Dunlap is your biggest added element in terms of known quantities at that position? You are still seeing simply the consequences of that Frank Clark trade. Is George Karlaftis who the Chiefs need him to be right now? Is George Karlaftis going to be the guy the Chiefs need him to be by January? If you wanted to say, hey, okay, fine, you guys have said it's a pretty fair matchup between two evenly matched teams, cool, all right. Well, how confident are you that it would be different next time? Or what should have changed? What could have changed in the offseason to change this game today? Now, again, look, Willie Gay not getting in trouble and Trent McDuffie not getting hurt in week 1 are not answers that Brett Veach or Andy Reid had any control over. Those are just the things that happened. But if you wanted to go back to March, April, May, June and say, okay, well, where was there something that you guys pointed to that the Chiefs didn't fully address? You can check the tapes. I hope Frank Clark is healthy. I'm glad he's in the best shape of his life. It seems like maybe he's getting some of his off-the-field stuff together. His press conferences have been great. I love all that for him. But at no point this offseason was I ever buying Frank Clark resurgence is going to fix this pass rush. And he could be a role player is what my hope was, and we'll see if he is. But right now, he's Carlos Dunlap. And Carlos Dunlap isn't even Melvin Ingram from 2021. If you said, what are you actually concerned about that was exhibited in this game? It's what happens when the Chiefs, not when they do blitz, but when they don't.
Yeah.
When the Chiefs don't blitz, they don't get pressure. Unless Chris Jones beats a double team. And that's a tough way to live your life. And Chris Jones eating all these double teams on a 5-man line means you've got 3 guys who have one-on-one matchups that they are not winning. That is a big picture legit concern for me.
Couple of texts that go along with that, and then we'll get to some phone calls. 913-912-4810 as the text line says, I no longer fear the Bills as a team we can't possibly overcome. Coulda, woulda, shoulda, won the game, but didn't. If and when meet again, it's a game that we can win. Text says, let's be real. We were forced to play DiCaprio Boodle. Our young secondary needs more seasoning. Thought they played well, all things considered. I'm not sure Fenton would have outplayed Watson, but McDuffie was drafted where he was for a reason, and Fenton would have helped. I bring that up to then this text that I feel like they go hand in hand. The text says, most aggravating part during the game to me was the last Buffalo touchdown. It seemed like Josh Allen had a lot of time to throw the ball. I was telling my son, you can't give him that much time. And right at that moment, they showed the ball going like a bullet for a touchdown. Maybe it looked like he had a long time compared to how short the time seemed for the Chiefs to throw. I counted. He had 5 seconds. He had 5 seconds in the pocket, and that goes along with the young secondary. That can't happen. They didn't blitz. The Chiefs did not blitz. And he had 5 seconds to throw. He was comfortable. He was in the pocket. Frank Clark got beat pretty quickly. Carlos Dunlap got beat pretty quickly. They weren't doing anything. Chris Jones was double-teamed. And I think it was Noddy that was just sort of, there one-on-one with somebody. And Allen had 5 seconds, sat there. And by the way, everybody was covered. Until Allen then pointed. If he has 4 seconds, it might be 3rd and 12.
Yep. Absolutely.
Or it might be 3rd and 15 or 16 if you get some pressure on him because this secondary did a good job covering. And Reid isn't one of the younger guys, but he played it well until then there was time for a receiver to adjust without the quarterback having to even get outside the pocket. That is certainly a concern and an issue. And I'll also point out that the trying to think which play it was. It might have been just what we were talking about in the break, the Gabe Davis touchdown.
So I have it up on a screen now because I wanted to take what you just said and pull it to the Gabe Davis touchdown.
Yeah, they blitzed and brought 7.
You just laid out the Dawson Knox touchdown where they don't blitz. Everybody's covered.
Yeah.
Allen has forever, and eventually great protection beats great coverage because the offense knows the play. They get to go away from the defender. So contrast that to the end of the first half. Boy, this is frustrating. Gabe Davis ends up one-on-one with Joshua Williams, a rookie who the Chiefs clearly would rather have played Jalen Watson than earlier in the season. So the Chiefs do bring pressure on this play. And after the play, it was, oh, God, how is Spags doing that? To quote Matt Lane of KC Sports Network, he tweeted during the game, I really thought this was good, because I was tweeting about, live by the sword, die by the sword.
Yeah.
That's Spags with the blitz. And Matt said, yeah, you live by the sword, double-edged sword, but at least it's still a sword. And that's what the defense needed, something sharp and pointy. So on this Gabe Davis touchdown, the Chiefs bring the blitz, and the Bills do something really interesting. They leave in 7, not counting Josh Allen. You got your 5-man line. You have a running back and a tight end, maybe fullback, in the backfield with Allen. So the Chiefs blitz 5. George Karlaftis hits the ground immediately. That's not great. Chris Jones gets pressure on the right tackle. He's kicked out at end, and he's out there making the pressure towards Allen. He gets to go over him instead. Running back comes up, fills the gap. L'Jarius Sneed gets blocked. Nick Bolton walked away by a lineman. Derek Nottie, I believe, walked away. And then Frank Clark literally isn't touching the left tackle when Josh Allen is in the pocket. You had 7-on-7 and 7 one-on-one matchups. Chris Jones is the only one that I think you could say. Oh, and Justin Reed also on the blitz. He gets picked up by the tight end that's in the backfield. You could say Reed and Jones hurried Josh Allen, but they didn't get there. And the interior of the pocket, Karlaftis is on the ground. Nick Bolton is 1 yard past the line of scrimmage. Derek Nottie is like 2 yards past the line of scrimmage. Josh Allen is 15 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
There's no interior pressure, so he drifts back, he throws it up, and Gabe Davis is faster than Josh Williams, and it's a touchdown.
Yeah.
I know we just did the thing where he broke down a play you can't see. I don't like to do that very much because sometimes I get distracted if I can't literally see it. But hear me say, the Chiefs had 10 one-on-one matchups, and then Josh Allen and Juan Thornhill. And the Bills won 8 of those matchups, and the other 2 didn't matter. Live by the sword, die by the sword, blitz, don't blitz. The Chiefs didn't win enough one-on-one matchups defensively. That's the one place where I would say this defense could actually take some blame.
And one other part as to that, just encompassing it all, 3rd and 13 at the own 1 yard line.
Agreed,
a minute 18
it's the
to
biggest
play.
Play of the game.
They didn't get pressure. They dropped 7, so they didn't blitz. They dropped 7, and yet somehow Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs were both open beyond the chains. I'm not sure how that's possible.
Yeah.
Maybe it is just simply the younger secondary that Josh Williams was supposed to be further towards Gabe Davis, and he stopped and played maybe more of a zone behind Sneed, who was playing off of Dawson Knox because they were letting Dawson Knox catch the ball underneath, so Sneed was dropping. But when Gabe Davis turns, he's wide open, and when he catches the ball is when you see Josh Williams heading that way. Williams ran with him and then stopped. Also, right on the other side of Nick Bolton, who was running towards Gabe Davis, was Stephon Diggs, who was also open past the sticks. Not sure how 2 guys over the middle are that open when you drop 7.
And it's so hard to get the Bills in 3rd and long.
Yeah.
And 3rd and short is not even a question because they have a polar bear playing quarterback. I mean, they have Goliath playing the most difficult position to guard in the sport. So those 3rd and short conversions, you don't even sweat them if you're Buffalo. When you get them backed up against the 1 on 3rd and 13, that's just a play that
I thought that
you
was
have
the biggest
such an
play of the
opportunity,
game.
and they couldn't win it.
I thought that was the biggest play of the game. Yeah. And the Bills made it. And then they went down and scored a touchdown. Let's bring in Johnny to the conversation. 913-381-0810. Johnny, thank you for holding, man. I appreciate it. Go right ahead. What's on your mind?
Yeah, there was a couple things I've seen in the game yesterday that just kind of bothered me. And one of the things is I'm pretty sure it was Chris Jones, one of the plays where he comes in and he's about to get a sack and he kind of stutters. And it seemed like he thought about, the same thing about last week and the week before that, because I think he was just catching himself even thinking about tackling the quarterback and how he was going to tackle the quarterback, where it just you don't when you play defense and you play football, you don't think about tackling the quarterback or how you're going to tackle the quarterback. You just tackle the quarterback. So a lot of that stuff with the refs and the roughing the quarterback penalties and bringing your full weight down on them, that's going to bring a lot of problems to the defensive line, and it's frustrating, because it's like you don't know what to do. So it's at a point where it's not starting to be the football as we know it. It's gonna change, and it's like, why don't you just get rid of the defensive line? Because if they can't go after the quarterback like they're supposed to, then what is the point of even going after the quarterback?
I mean, look, you would have to ask Chris Jones, like maybe in a candid conversation of like, hey, in that play, and I'll be honest, I don't recall
know which play
the play you're talking about. I would say there might be a couple things going on that the stutter or a little bit of hesitation could be from last week. It could also be that Josh Allen is not Matt Ryan or Tom Brady, that you can't just simply run full speed at Josh Allen thinking he's going to be in that spot. So you might have to break down a little bit more than you would typically against a quarterback that doesn't move. That could be it. Or it could be that Chris Jones just thinking, okay, now if I get there, make sure that when I'm tackling him, I'm doing something a certain way. I don't know. You'd have to ask Chris Jones on that, but I don't recall the play you're talking about.
Okay, and another thing is just like both the Bills and the Chiefs, they're basically, the same team. Got a great quarterback, got a all right defensive line, got a linebacker that you can rely on in Milano and Bolton. And it's just a lot of it was like last year, and it just swung their way. Last year it swung our way. And I feel like the games were basically a lot of the same, even though the score was a lot higher last year than this year. But we kind of played the same type of games where we were matched, and they just came up on the upside on this one. We came up on the upside last year, and that's stuff that happens in football, especially when you got two great quarterbacks like you do with both of these teams.
Johnny, appreciate the phone call, man. 913-381-0810. I would say, the last point about the defenses being similar to a degree, the one difference being Von Miller. I mean, the Chiefs, they have Chris Jones, and he's, the second best interior pass rusher in the NFL, but they don't have an edge guy that just wreaks havoc the way that Von Miller does. And if you think the Chiefs would prefer the defensive tackle versus the defensive end, I offer Exhibit A that they wanted to move Chris Jones to defensive end because they needed a defensive end that was more dominant than a defensive tackle, because that's what they're looking for, is what Von Miller can do in that game versus what Chris Jones can do. But it's also why they're putting Chris Jones out at defensive end when it comes to pass rushing situations, because they need that game wrecker.
Right, and so I think I'll disagree with you a tiny bit on that front, because Matt Derrick mentioned this during the postgame show last night. He said, look, he said it's kind of a shame that last year's when they tried that because Chris Jones was hurt, and this year Chris Jones is pretty healthy. And he said, look, Chris Jones is the best edge rusher on this team, and he's right.
Yeah.
The thing that I would disagree with a smidge is I wouldn't prefer Chris Jones to be the exact player he is on the interior, on the edge. But the Chiefs really need somebody in both spots.
Yeah.
And especially when Wharton was healthy, I think he might have been the second most impactful pass rusher through parts of this season. So Chris Jones getting moved by necessity, as at least as much as by choice. That's not a real knockdown drag out or anything. But I love having that disruption in the interior, because it can be so disruptive. But then you need edges who can take advantage of that. That was supposed to be Clark. It's got to be Karlaftis. On the Bills and Chiefs games from last year, the Chiefs didn't overreact to losing by 18 points in October 2021. They did make one different move, though. Their defense was 1 degree different, just like the Bills have one major difference in their defense from the AFC Championship game to this year being Von Miller. The Chiefs did add Melvin Ingram between those two Bills games. The Chiefs did realize our pass rush needs a little extra juice here. I'm not sure they're going to make a move like that this year. I'm not sure they should. Depends on what it would cost, obviously. I think they might just be banking on George Karlaftis being one Melvin Ingram better from October to January this time through.
Hopefully that's the case. I mean, there's some growing pains that have to happen. And part of the pass rush, when we've mentioned a couple times next to Chris Jones, or when he's been rushing from the interior as opposed to rushing from the defensive end spot, in that, you've looked through some of those plays and you're like, Noddy, not really doing much. Well, that would be Turk Wharton. Right. And so that's an injury that, matters. And they put Turk Wharton out on the edge sometimes too, to rush from there and then have Chris Jones on the interior. But when we talk about injuries on, with this matchup, I don't mention Turk Wharton moving forward because they're not getting him back. So when we say the Chiefs defense was missing all of these different guys, I don't mention Turk. I bring that up because this is going to be an issue moving forward, that Turk brought that stuff. Turk Wharton brought that for you, but you don't have him the rest of the way. So what was missing in that game was Willie Gay, Trent McDuffie, Brian Cook, Rashad Fenton. just as Tre'Davious White was missing for the Bills.
Right.
I don't list Micah Hyde as missing for the Bills because we're talking about the next matchup, and he will not play in the next matchup, just as Turk Wharton will not play. So you're adding in Gay, McDuffie, Cook, and Fenton, and you're giving them Tre'Davious White, which is a difference maker, which is absolutely, big, and that matters for them. It also matters what the Chiefs are missing, but they're not getting somebody back that will offer a pass rush the way that Turk Wharton does, and they're going to continue to miss that. Can they make up for that moving forward? I don't know. There are some growing pains for George Karlaftis. I don't know that he was supposed to be on the ground that quickly on that blitz in the Gabe Davis touchdown. If his job was to go at the legs of the offensive linemen and, knock them off their balance so that it'll open up a lane one way or another, then hey, he tried to do his job. If not, boy, he went down very, very quickly in that. I mean, it was like the Kool-Aid man that got pushed. He's very top heavy. He fall over very quickly. And that's what George Karlaftis did. The other little part with that is, growing pains in Karlaftis maybe now going up against Josh Allen for the first time, knowing the things that he can do. It was 0-0 in the first quarter. It ended up being the field goal drive for the Bills when they took the 3-0 lead. It was 2nd down and 10. Josh Allen escaped to his left. Karlaftis was out there, and Darius Harris was to his left. And Josh Allen was running towards Karlaftis, and he made a slight little jab inside. Karlaftis has Darius Harris to his left, and he overreacted to his left. You've got help there, man.
Right.
Josh Allen then runs around him, and Karlaftis can't get there because Allen's probably faster than he thought. But Harris is to your left. You can't overreact like that because you've got the outside to not let Josh Allen turn the corner, and he picked up, I think, 9 yards on that play. It would set up, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7? I don't know. Who knows what happens on that, but that's a growing pain. He's never faced Josh Allen. Also, learning. You've got help. You're not at Purdue anymore. You're not a one-man guy that you have to do everything.
We literally could not trust his help.
Right. You've got Harris to the inside. He's an NFL player. All right? If Josh Allen wants to cut it inside, Harris is going to help you make the play. You can't let him get outside of you. And he did. It was a nice little jab step. And you know what? Mahomes does that all the time, too. A little jab step inside, beats him around the corner. Great players make small little plays that turn out to be great plays by just fraction and understanding the spatial awareness, and Josh Allen does that too.
George Karlaftis is going to be a different player in January than he was right now.
Mm-hmm.
The edge position as a whole, and all of the issues across the defense we're talking about with all these rookies, those situations will evolve not only with health, but also with continued experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
We don't know how much that will be by the end of Karlaftis' rookie year, start of year 2, start of year 3. Who's he going to be? But in game 6, no panic button, but we are pointing at that edge and saying, hey, you know what? The Chiefs need more there. George Karlaftis, to be clear, is still absolutely the Chiefs' best bet to get more production from the defensive end position.
Yeah, it's not to point out and say, boy, the Chiefs have no chance now. No, they had a chance to win. These are the 2 best teams. I think the Bills are better than the Chiefs, but it isn't a wide gap. And I think maybe 6 out of 4 the Bills win. Maybe it's 5-5. Maybe it's 7 out of 3. I don't know what ends up happening. But you make the plays at the big spots, and you win the game.
Chris Jones had a 93.2 PFF grade for Week 6 against the Bills. It's the highest Chief by 25 points.
He's been pretty dominant. Take a timeout. More Zone next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
I am incapable of not being annoying. I've tried it.
That's true.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, let's head to the phone lines, 913-381-810. Mike next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Mike, thank you for holding. Go right ahead, sir. What's on your mind?
Well, I'm hoping that Spags is as smart as I think he is and that he's planning for the next game, because if he didn't understand that they were shooting their guards out to help their tackles for the edge rush and not sending anybody up the middle, it just dumbfounds me, because when the 2 times he sent people or linebackers in to help with the rush, they got in there and pressured Allen. But when he was sending them off the edge, they were overprotecting on the edge. And I'm hoping that he's setting them up for the next game, because otherwise I don't see what he was doing yesterday, because they can see what we're seeing from the booth. So they're seeing what I'm seeing. But other than that, can we honestly start doing what the other teams are doing and allow our offensive line to hold like there's no tomorrow? And they're not going to call it, so why not do what the other teams are doing? They're waiting on the officials to start calling something, or they're just going to keep doing it. And we're not playing that way. If we're going to play a fair game, we need to play the same way the other teams are playing and make the officials make the call, because at this point they're not calling any holdings from the offense or defensive line.
I mean, I haven't seen it much.
It's really interesting.
Yeah.
I kind of like that take of like, hey,
lines are getting the phone call.
Lines are getting away with it. The Chiefs should also be trying to maybe grab on a little more. Yeah. I have no way of empirically answering that, but as a concept, are the Chiefs playing it too clean on the O-line is kind of a fun 5-dimensional take. I kind of like it.
Yes. 913-381-810. Text line 913-912-4810. Text says, got to say I'm happy with the game. Was thinking the Bills were way better than the Chiefs. Chiefs could have won that game 3 different times. Defense much improved. Needs to get pass rush without blitzing. Yep. Offense misses Tyreek and needs to be able to run the ball. I mean, I don't disagree with any of that. I wish they were able to run the ball a little bit more effectively. If they were, maybe it would have been easier on the offense overall. They also got to find a way to come away with more than 20 points in the game. 913-912-4810. A couple of other texts coming in. Text says, biggest difference is the quarterback contract. We couldn't afford Von Miller. That is connected then to another text that I wrote down that says, do we get into the Brian Burns sweepstakes and try to trade for him? I don't know what it would cost for Brian Burns, probably a first-rounder to Carolina Panthers.
First-rounder and a new contract would be my assumption.
Right, and Clark Hunt has already told Brett Veach, you are not trading next year's first-round draft pick, so maybe the 2024 first-round draft pick to the Panthers, but are they going to take that first-round draft pick as opposed to another team that's probably going to give up for 2023? So it would take that. They also, I don't know that they could they find a way to clear up some cap space? It would cost them like $2 and change to bring on Brian Burns right now. With his base salary this year, it's like $2.1 or $2.2 million, but it's prorated for the rest of the way. So you'd pay roughly 40% or 60% of that. And that's what you would have to pay. But it would be the draft pick, and then you would ultimately be paying Brian Burns as a star defensive end that made his first Pro Bowl last year, that already has 20-some-odd pressures and has 4 sacks this year, you're going to be paying him like that. So you move on from Frank Clark, and then that money then goes to Brian Burns, which I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to, but you're hoping you can get a little more economical at that spot with draft picks. That's what you're wanting George Karlaftis to be. And the other part about, affording Von Miller's cap hit this year is only $5 million. So they could have afforded Von Miller this year, and then you would say, yeah, but next year is when it balloons. Right, it does. And Josh Allen's contract cap hit is $40 million next year.
This is all true.
So could they afforded, Von Miller, in his contract? Yeah, for the next couple of years. They could have afforded the $5 million and then him ballooning up to, $19 million next year, because they have a quarterback in the Bills that has a $40 million cap hit next year.
And Von Miller's excellent. Do you want him to be $21 million against your cap in 2024 with no out? Because I'm not sure that I necessarily would. Von Miller
Do
this
they get
year,
a Super Bowl along the way?
Well, this is the thing.
Yeah.
Von Miller this year is going to look like an incredible deal. And then down the line, we're going to see how this deal actually affects the Bills in the future. So I you already explained why it's not just about the quarterbacks. Here's what it is about, though. If you want to look at contracts, it's about the other moves the Chiefs chose to make instead, and also the move that they made a few years ago where they, stop me if you've heard this one before, sent a first-round pick and more to sign an up-and-coming defensive end who is about to be off his rookie contract to a new $100 million deal. Now, they won a Super Bowl along that time. I don't want to talk about if they would have won the Super Bowl with or without Frank Clark, and that conversation's never been fruitful and it's only ever made me angry. But with that in mind, I don't think that the solution to replacing Frank Clark is trying the Frank Clark trade again. I think Brian Burns could make that worth your while. He could have a better second act of his career than Frank Clark did, but I don't want the Chiefs to make that choice. And the main thing there is because they already tried to solve their future at the position by drafting George Karlaftis. He's the investment there now. They absolutely should have more invested in the edge position going forward. But right now, it's Frank Clark on this restructured last year of a bad contract and George Karlaftis 6 games into an NFL career. I would like to see somebody with a little more juice in this pass rush, but I don't think I want to see them trying to do something extreme when they need to continue to avoid Frank Clark landmines, not go try to patch up with another one. That first-round pick needs to be a starter for years on a rookie contract, in part because of the deal they gave to Patrick Mahomes. If they're going to extend Chris Jones, that's going to be a lot more money. They paid Joe Thuney a ton and then restructured the deal, as we've talked about plenty, that's going to keep him on this cap for a while. The Chiefs have spent a lot of money just when their biggest investment in edge was Frank Clark, and it hasn't paid off.
Tex says they could have just drafted Brian Burns in 2019. And they could have.
They could have.
Because sitting at pick number 29, or 30, whatever it was that they traded out, pick number 29, they could have taken that pick number 29 and the second rounder they also sent to the Seahawks along with the third rounder. So you could have added a second, a third, and pick number 30 or pick number 29 to move up to 16 to take Brian Burns. Yeah. I mean, in theory, they could have.
And it's a lot of moving parts.
They chose a bird in the hand, and who knows, maybe the Panthers were like, yeah, no, thank you. We want Brian Burns that badly. This is the guy we've been waiting for. He's the difference maker, and we don't need the pick 30 and then an extra second and a third rounder or pick 29, whatever it is. We don't need that. I don't know what the Panthers would have done if the Chiefs looked at Brian Burns and said, he's the difference maker. We got to go and get that guy as opposed to what they felt like maybe was a bird in the hand in Frank Clark, knowing they'd have to pay him all that money as well.
And then with that 29th pick that the Chiefs traded away, the Seahawks took L.J. Collier, who has 3 career sacks. So, this is how this works sometimes. Sometimes the vet you trade for makes you very happy on that new deal.
Yeah.
Sometimes the rookie you take makes you glad that you made the move for the veteran. I mean, it is a difficult game.
Right.
I would rather play the version of the game that costs you less to play it. That is the draft pick or the free agency, not the trade and contract combo where you're essentially doubling down on your bet.
Chuck, next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Chuck, go right ahead. What's on your mind, sir?
Oh, yeah, I had a question on a couple of the calls in the game yesterday. I was just a little confused on unabated to the quarterback in the first half.
Yeah.
It appeared to me that the Chiefs had a couple of blockers between the man that was offsides and Mahomes at that point.
They did. They had Orlando Brown and Jerick McKinnon was coming over to chip as well. So the Chiefs were not happy about that play being blown dead. It was 3rd and 7. Who knows what happens on that particular play? Not sure. Ended up being 3rd and 2, then 4th and 2, and they pick up the first down, all of that stuff. But, yeah, they wanted that play to have a free play. Yep.
Right. And then on the pass interference on Kelsey, it appeared to me that the ball was still in Mahomes' hand when the contact occurred. Would that really be pass interference?
I mean, it's a good question. Like, is it pass interference no matter what if an offensive player pushes off?
It was beyond the 5.
You're not supposed to block and do those things even when the quarterback has the ball before. But
I would have loved that flag to stay in the pocket.
Yeah, I mean, the flag should have stayed in the pocket. But, yeah, the actual, like, pass interference as opposed to what would be illegal contact on the defense when the ball's not in the air, or a holding on the defense, or when the ball's in the air and it is pass interference.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the way that they enforce those rules.
Well, it appeared to me that he was within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. At that point, would that have been illegal contact on the defense?
I don't know. I mean, within 5 yards, probably not. But
when it's at the top of the route like that, I think that's when they're going to call it, because they see him literally trying to create separation. The thing is, if you just have an extended arm there, man, I hate that call. I'm just not surprised that they did throw the flag.
And here's the thing that sort of works. It works against the Chiefs in that I do think officials watch Kelce more, because he does get held a lot in his route. And so if the Chiefs are saying, look, man, guys are grabbing and pulling, and in that game the Bills were getting pretty handsy. Yes. If guys are grabbing and pulling Kelce and the official goes, yeah, it is something that's an issue and we're going to watch it. Oh, wait, that was Kelce that pushed off there. All right, well, if we're going to call holding on them when they're grabbing him, well, then Kelce can't push off and gain separation that way. I didn't like the call, but I understand when there's extra attention given to Kelce that it can kind of go both ways. So.
All right.
Hey, Chuck, I appreciate Go ahead.
Yeah. I just came away thinking that the Bills are a Stephon Diggs and a Von Miller better than the Chiefs right now. So
yeah, I think that's a pretty decent assessment. Chuck, I appreciate the phone call, man. Thank you for being a part of the show as well. 913-912-4810. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, wrap up the Sour Field Yates coming up at noon. Andy Reid at 12:30. More Zone next.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
You could have also gone.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Nine 912-4810. Texas, how many teams have a drafted franchise quarterback and an edge rusher? Very few. It's hard to do.
Definitely.
Good show. Yeah, I mean, it's different ways of trying to build. Chiefs have the main one figured out in Patrick Mahomes, and they've been trying to figure out the defensive end for a few years. They haven't done it yet. And as one texter said earlier, hope in one hand, you know what in the other? For George Karlaftis being the answer, if the Chiefs are hoping he's the answer. Well, yeah, I think the Chiefs are hoping he's the answer, but they're doing something along the way, which is coaching him and techniques and things, giving him experience and helping him improve.
They invested in him as the potential answer.
While also hoping that his development that they have some say in will result in him being someone that can get after the pass rusher as the season goes along, and he's better at that. Right now, we haven't seen much.
It's also a really interesting question about just like, hey, how many teams have gotten all of this right? Mm-hmm. And especially if you want to extend it to, what about if they draft their own left tackle or number one receiver? Chiefs fans are going to love this, but the one example I can think of a team who has absolutely done that.
Hold on. Chargers.
It might only be the Chargers. Listen to their first round pick since 2016, okay? Since 2016, Joey Bosa, Mike Williams, Derwin James, Jerry Tillery, Justin Herbert, Rashawn Slater.
Nice.
And then this year, Zion Johnson, the guard, TBD, obviously. But holy bleep, that's a good stretch.
What numbers were those draft picks?
Relatively high. It was another,
I'm not saying they ought to be top 10. I'm just wondering what they were.
Most of them are. Yeah. Going back to Bosa, 3, Mike Williams, 7, Derwin James, 17, Jerry Tillery, 28, Justin Herbert, 6, Rashawn Slater, 13. So they are both getting their first-round picks right and picking in the teens or higher constantly, which is kind of you take the quarterback late in that process, you'll keep picking high.
Because all of those names that you gave, the one that is ranked probably the lowest would be Tillery.
Right.
Who was also drafted.
Pick the lowest, yep.
The lowest. But yeah, you're picking in the top 10. But you're right. They got it right in those. Bosa's been a game wrecker when healthy. Derwin James has been awesome when healthy. Mike Williams has been, worth the squeeze when healthy as
Rashawn
well.
Slater's look great. It's a great draft class. Frankly, I think it's pretty obvious. They're going to win the AFC West this year, next year, and for the next 10.
Yep, absolutely.
Whoop, hold on. Wait, hold on.
Well, they're going to win the offseason West.
Oh, no, they're not. Yeah, no, they're not.
Field Yates.
When you want Chiefs. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
This is a guy through the first 3 quarters of the game had a quarterback rating of, oh, now I lost that.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Chiefs fall to the Bills. They get ready for the 49ers coming up on Sunday, 3:25 on Fox 24/20. Losing to the Bills. Joining us now, ESPN's NFL insider joining us here in the zone, Field Yates. From ESPN, Field, how are you, sir? What's up?
Jason, I'm doing well. Tough one yesterday for the Chiefs, obviously, but that struck me as basically 2 Titans going back and forth for 60 minutes, and it took all 60 minutes for the Bills to emerge victorious.
You know, I had the same takeaway. Like, it's interesting. I was frustrated after the Colts loss, but it was more of a frustration of you let one get away. You're obviously better than the Colts, and things that got you are more of a blip on the radar than a, boy, these are death knells. This is how you're going to lose in the playoffs. And I guess maybe the fact that I picked the Bills this week to win, Field, that I come away from that game not all that, disappointed or like panicky in any way, shape, or form. Then I'm like, you know what? I think those are the 2 best teams in the AFC, and both teams had plays along the way that they could have either won or lost the game. And the time runs out, and somebody's got to have more points than the other, at least even at the end of overtime, or maybe not necessarily.
Exactly right. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's like if the number 1 and number 2 team in the college football AP poll play each other, like someone's going to have to win, right?
Right.
I understand that it's frustrating when you come out in the short end of the stick here, but I don't know that you can afford to do this with every team because of how it sort of feels like even the NFL is in a lot of circles, right? Like the Raiders, you can't just like use big picture takeaways right now because you're already 1-4.
Mm-hmm.
Like for the Chiefs, 1 loss is not going to determine whether they make the playoffs. I don't think it's going to be the end of the year, and we're going to be sitting there in Week 18, and the Chiefs are going to be 11-5, and if they don't win whoever they play, if they don't win against whoever they play in Week 18, it's going to be like, well, the Chiefs narrowly missed the playoffs, right? It feels to me that like what yesterday might have been a deciding tiebreaker on more than anything else is the potential for home field advantage throughout the playoffs. And that's fine. I mean, obviously the Chiefs could make it up. The Bills have a long ways to go, as do the Chiefs. But it didn't strike me that my opinion of the Chiefs dramatically altered after yesterday. I'm like, oh, wow, I thought they were the, sort of co-favorites in the AFC coming into the game. And after the game, I feel like they're the co-favorites in the AFC.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think the difference in the game, both quarterbacks are high-level quarterbacks. Josh Allen's going to win an MVP in his career, I believe. It might be this year, the way that he played. And
probably this year.
Yeah, I mean, he's the leader in the clubhouse right now, as he should be, because I thought he was brilliant in the game yesterday. He had a rough patch where he missed 7 in a row, and then he came back and connected on 13 straight. And in those 13 straight completions, he had 170 yards and 2 touchdowns. And so, I mean, he got hot at the right time and exploited whatever the Chiefs were doing, and then drove the field and had the winning touchdown. So if the quarterbacks just say, kind of equal each other out, one team has Von Miller and the other doesn't. And that's why you go out if you're the Bills and say, we're willing to maybe mortgage the future to win now because we want to take advantage of this, that we're going to go get Von Miller because we want to beat the Chiefs. And at least game number 1 in the matchups, he was maybe the biggest difference maker outside of the quarterbacks.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And Von Miller was exceptional yesterday, and someone was asking me, like, is yesterday proof, like, this is why the Bills signed Von Miller? And in some ways, yes. I know that was a point that Tony Romo was making frequently throughout the broadcast. No, I don't want to diminish what Von Miller did yesterday or what he has done in his career. My personal feeling is I do want to see what it looks like in February, right? Or January when a 35, however old Von Miller is, whether he's 33, 34, 35. What kind of gas does he have left in the tank compared to where he's at in October? But, yeah, I mean, again, if I did a draft of the 2 best rosters in the NFL, factoring in quarterbacks, like I'm probably taking these 2 teams either 1-2 or they're going 2-3. I don't know. I know it's a bad problem that you're having to wake up when you want your team to win and they don't. But I'm just telling you, go around the NFL and it's not that hard to find teams that are in a borderline panic right now, right? I mean, look at the weird stuff that happened yesterday. Packers, the Bucks, they both lost. I mean, to teams that I know the Giants are frisky and they've been playing really well, but the Packers have now lost to the Giants and the Jets in the span of a week. That team, you were talking about issues. Those are teams that have issues, right? The Chiefs and the Bills, whoever came out on top yesterday, or whoever came on the wrong, I guess who did not come out on top yesterday, it's all right, 7-game series, this one's going 7 games most likely. That's what I felt like yesterday was. I'm not trying to minimize it. I enjoyed the heck out of watching the game for the most part, obviously, but not a game that I think really changes how I feel dramatically about other teams.
Visiting with Field Yates from ESPN, you mentioned what he'll look like later on in the year, January, February, Von Miller. I thought it was interesting. They noted during the broadcast that they had been limiting some of the reps that Von Miller was getting throughout this year because they wanted him to stay fresh. I mean, that was not the case in yesterday's game. He played 80% of the snaps. The only other game that he came close to that was 74%, oddly enough, against Miami. And the only loss this year, 21-19. So they have been conserving his, snap count in games that either they're winning or not as close, and then they go ahead and let him loose in games where they got to go and win, which makes sense. I mean, you want to keep him fresh later on, but that wasn't a game where they were about keeping Von Miller fresh, and it makes sense. Yes, I mean Chris Jones played almost 100% of the snaps yesterday.
Totally, exactly, 100%. And by the way, even though I'm sitting here saying I don't know that yesterday really changed the way I felt about either team, I think it's important to remember that there's a psychological aspect to sports, right? And I'm not saying that if the Chiefs won yesterday, we should just cancel the rest of the season and let the Chiefs prepare for whoever is available from the NFC at the end of the playoffs. But if you're the Bills and you lose that game yesterday after playing a borderline perfect game of football, the last time you were in Arrowhead as well, and losing that game, right? There was probably a psychological component too that separate and apart from wanting to win, you're probably letting Von Miller run as much as he did yesterday and play as much as he did yesterday because you are this one does mean more than a ho-hum win over the Commanders or something in Week 12. Not to make the Commanders the butt end of the joke here, but Von played a lot yesterday, and I think that's probably a testament to how much the Bills felt like yesterday was playoff preview-like matchup.
Visiting with Field Yates, for those that were there in the locker rooms, our own Todd Lebo, some other national as well, it seems like they got the same sense from the Bills locker room that last year there was a euphoria, there was a on top of the world type feeling of that they had finally slayed the Dragon, a team they lost to in the AFC Championship game the year before they head into Kansas City, and they just punked them in their house at night, national TV. And then they went 3-5 the next 8 games. The difference from those that were in the locker rooms yesterday was they didn't feel that in the Bills locker room, that it wasn't a, hey, we've done it. It was a, cool, got the win, now let's move on to next week. I think that's a huge difference in maturity, whereas, we talked this last week, Field, about, if the Chiefs lose to the Bills, they did last year and they still got a home field advantage. I don't expect that to be the case this year because I do think there's the learning of winning, having success, learning to stay atop as well and not have letdowns, that I think this is probably going to be a more mature team. And I think yesterday's locker room probably speaks to that.
I think so as well. I think you're right on the spot there. For a team that has not yet won the Super Bowl and can carry itself like the one that's won the Super Bowl, or at least had a bunch of players on the roster that's won the Super Bowl, the Bills are doing a pretty good job of doing that, right? They understand, I think a lot of people, and I'll be the first to admit I was one of those people that thought coming into the season they were the favorites to win the whole thing, the whole Super Bowl. I felt that way certainly after Week 1 when they thumped the Rams. Not that we've now learned the Rams maybe aren't quite as dominant as we thought they might, or quite as good as we thought they would be coming into the season at 3-3 right now. But still, Rams are a good football team. It sort of felt like the Bills are playing a different sport than them in Week 1. So they're a really good team and they're carrying themselves that way. I hate minimizing the season. I used to hate well, I shouldn't say hated, but I used to get a little bit, I have like these moments of reflection where we'd be watching LeBron when he was with the Cavs play the Warriors, right, during the regular season. And you're like, yeah, well, it'll be cool when these guys meet in June, right? And whatever it was, a couple times, 2-3 times, they ended up meeting in June. And it was like, that's cool because, two obviously fantastic teams. But, like, what do those 82 games mean? Like, do they mean anything? The NFL is different, no doubt, because these 18 games, 18 weeks do mean something. But, if I got the opportunity to bet on Chiefs versus Bills in the AFC Championship, or any other outcome, including one but not both of them playing in the AFC Championship, I'd think long and hard about Chiefs versus Bills in the AFC Championship.
Yeah, no, I'm in agreement. Field Yates is our guest from ESPN. So news coming down the wire that the Carolina Panthers have traded Robbie Anderson to the Arizona Cardinals. That didn't take long, Field. Did Steve Wilkes actually send him to Arizona? Like hey, you're going to Arizona, just leave. Just head right there.
Yeah, as he's mouthing them, hey, by the way, thanks for the 5th-round pick or whatever, whatever, probably ended up being something like, very nominal for Robbie Anderson. But, what I would say is not totally surprised. I think none of us are based off of how things ended yesterday for Robbie Anderson. But there are a few teams, and Carolina and Arizona might sort of be in the same bucket where it's kind of like, I don't know exactly what to make of them, but this might be, by the way, this might be a sign that Hollywood Brown injury that happened late in the game is pretty nasty because they're already getting DeAndre Hopkins back. They've got Rondale Moore. They've gotten some production out of guys that are not household names. Like Greg Dortch was good for the first 2 weeks of the season. So you figure, like, if A.J. Green's healthy, Rondale Moore is healthy, DeAndre Hopkins is healthy, Zach Ertz is healthy, why would they be going out there and acquiring a guy, even though Robbie Anderson's base salary is so minimal that it's going to literally be a minimum money contract? It probably suggests that something's going on with Hollywood Brown, which would be injury to insult in a game that was out of reach yesterday. And the Cardinals played absolutely awful. But they're an interesting franchise, Jason. Like, I tell you what, I think I'd rather be doing sports radio in a city where the team is playing for the Super Bowl every single year. But you know what? You'd have some good meat on the bone now. If you're out in Arizona, you'd have a lot to talk about because that's a franchise that feels like it could potentially be at a crossroads, and yet it just made these major investments on its head coach, its general manager, and its quarterback. And in some ways, it feels like the secret sauce just isn't there, right? And in the NFL, you kind of want to be on the top or the bottom, but never in between, right? Being in between is a dangerous spot in the NFL. It's how you get yourself. I think, let's be honest with you, it's how coaches are getting fired. And I'm not trying to fire someone right now. We got a lot of season left, but Arizona's in a really interesting spot right now, and I'm not sure this move really changes the big picture for him.
Do you think Robbie Anderson is the first of what could be a quote-unquote fire sale? There's also reports that the Panthers are fielding calls on Christian McCaffrey right now as well, that they are interested in trading him. There's been some mention around here, not saying the Chiefs would do it or if they have the cap space, because right now they don't, but Brian Burns has been talked about as a guy that certainly would be coveted in the fourth year of a first-round contract, so he's got the fifth-year option as well, and then a big contract coming his way. Do you think the next week or two is going to see Christian McCaffrey, Brian Burns, and we'll see who else from the Panthers that'll be on different teams, that teams are going to try to find that missing piece?
I'd be surprised. By the way, the Chiefs will be okay on the cap space front. Don't worry about that one sooner than later. But I will say this, is that the Panthers had one player on their roster who not only had his contract been restructured to a minimum salary for the rest of this year, where they pushed away all the money into the future, but also was just like a declining player who was a misfit, not just in terms of ability on the field, but also clearly the culture as well. So my guess is that those other guys, McCaffrey, even Brian Burns is still on a rookie deal. Like, if you're going to go get one of those players, it ain't going to be for cheap. And I just don't know how many teams right now are really like. I think in some ways the Rams' struggles right now are probably sending a warning signal to other teams. I don't know how many teams there are that you're like, man, like if you put Brian Burns on that roster, they're good enough to win the Super Bowl, right? Like, I think the Chiefs are good enough to win the Super Bowl right now. Bills, you name it. There's like 5 or 6 teams that I think are probably capable of winning it. That I think if you're going to tell them, like, hey, you got to trade away a first and a third-round pick and then pay the guy $22 million a year, it's going to be a short list of teams that even think about doing that. So my guess is there might be a couple others, but if you had to rank the players that were most obvious trade candidates for Robbie Anderson, from the Panthers, Robbie Anderson was number one.
Yeah. Field Yates is our guest. You mentioned the Rams there. Any idea of what was happening with Cam Akers? Because now there's reports that the Rams are looking to trade Cam Akers, and that was pretty quick after being excused from practice or whatever it was late last week, and McVay not weighing in on whatever was going on, and now they're trying to trade him. So what is the deal there?
Nothing. Yeah, I don't know the deal, and it was one that I've been trying to poke around on myself, and I can't find a thing out. Now, obviously, it's clear that a divorce feels inevitable. Yeah. There was reporting from Jay Glazer yesterday that it's just a matter of when, not if, he gets traded. The tricky part there is, like, running back, paying a running back, trading for and then paying a running back. I know it's not huge money, but still, when you're a second-round pick, it's like probably a couple million bucks a year in those later years of the deal. Like, are you really incentivized to do that? Like, the Chiefs are a good example of a team that's got, their 2 of their top 3 runners right now. One of them is a 7th-round pick on Isaiah Pacheco, who's making pennies. The other one's Jerick McKinnon, who they keep bringing back. And they've signed now on 2 separate tiny money deals, right? So my feeling is that Cam Akers, if he's traded, it certainly could happen, but I'm not expecting it to be for an overwhelming return for the Rams. They probably just have to, swallow the pill hard here and maybe get, if they can get a late-round pick in exchange, great, but I wouldn't expect a whole lot much more than that.
What do you think McCaffrey would bring back in a trade?
That one's interesting. Here's the reason why it's really interesting, is that if you're a team that's trading for Christian McCaffrey, his contract offers 2 extremely different values. Beyond this year, it's $12 million minimum over the next 3 seasons for a cap hit for Christian McCaffrey. And you have to ask yourself, fundamentally, is any running back worth having a $12 million cap hit? Now, Christian McCaffrey is as unique of the running back as there is in the NFL. The guy's the best pass-catching running back maybe we've ever seen at the position, so there's certainly some value there. But if you're acquiring him because you're like, hey, we just want him from this year when the contract is palatable, well, it's extremely palatable. He's making minimum money. But if you're the Panthers, if he was in the final year of his deal, you can maybe trade for, mid-round pick, maybe. But if you're the Panthers, you're saying, well, hey, I'm not going to give him away. He's got 3 years left, right? He's a good player for us. And not only is he a good player for us, but until you've traded them away, he's a huge part of the fabric of the team and the identity of the team, right? He's been homegrown talent. He's part of the community, et cetera, et cetera. So I think there is a deal to be had. I think it's more complicated than might meet the eye, though, because of those competing interests. In the short term, he's a great value. Beyond the short term, I'm not so sure it's a great value. It might require a team that is negotiating with Christian McCaffrey before or the minute it trades for him. Like, hey, we're bringing you in, but beyond this season, your pay structure is going to change, not because you're not great, but because running backs are just hard to justify as top money contracts.
Last one, how good are the 49ers as the Chiefs get ready for them this weekend?
Well, depends on which version of the 49ers you're referring to.
Right, yeah.
The 49ers, as presently constructed, are not so good because they've got so many key players that are injured. It's very early on in the week, obviously. I don't know if Kyle Shanahan has yet addressed the media today or not, but there's a chance, I should say, that come Sunday, the Chiefs are not facing off against Nick Bosa, a very, very familiar face in Javarius Mooney Ward. They also had multiple injuries yesterday, including Ward. And Trent Williams might not be available. We'll see on some of these really, really talented guys for the 49ers. So they're nasty on defense. I mean, they are just a force when fully healthy. We just don't know how healthy they're going to be come Sunday. So would certainly not consider this a cakewalk game for the Chiefs, especially given the game is being played on the road. But the old saying, you're catching them at a good time, right? That probably applies to Kansas City, especially if they can take advantage going into their bye week the following week.
I do worry about a trap game for the Chiefs coming off the big one against the Bills and the bye week right after this week and maybe feeling like the 49ers aren't that good of a team. I do have a concern about that. I think they'll win, but I'm concerned about just looking ahead a little bit.
I think they'll win, but it'll be close.
Yeah.
Like I think this could be like a 24-20 type game.
An uglier
right?
game
and
where
I don't
you're
know
like,
what
wow. Yeah.
Yeah, like you're happy just to survive that.
Yeah, Chiefs
No
are
question.
2.5-point favorites right now, so we'll see if that
right.
moves. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. Field, you're the man. Really appreciate it, sir. As always, enjoy the football. We will talk next week when the Chiefs head into the bye week and see what else takes place. Thank you for the time, man. Really appreciate it as always.
All right, Jason. Take care, man. Have a good one.
Absolutely. You too. There's Field Yates. Good stuff from ESPN's NFL Insider, our NFL Insider here on Sports Radio 810 as well. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll hear from Andy Reid coming up next here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
You might not be able to tell by the quality of the radio show, but I'm great.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Learn Funniest Best coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. What's that you say?
Per Adam Schefter, Hollywood Brown suffers a potentially season-ending foot injury on Sunday, which is why they also traded for somebody.
Yeah, as Field Yates just said, maybe that's an indication of how serious the injury to Hollywood Brown was late in that game, that they traded for Robbie Anderson today.
Hold on, let me write this down. Field Yates knows things.
Less than 24 hours after Robbie Anderson and the wide receivers coach get face-to-face or face-to-face mask, and then Steve Wilkes tells him, just go. Get the hell out of here. Get off the sideline. He then walks from the sideline of the Panthers to the Cardinals locker room. Just straight. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Just go right there. He actually took the same car that Poyer was in. The bus, van, whatever.
The tweet from PFT commenter immediately after the Robbie Anderson trade really got me. Happy that Robbie Anderson can get away from an undersized, grumpy Oklahoma system quarterback who's been treated with kid gloves for being drafted first overall and play with Kyler Murray instead.
It's pretty good. Pretty good. All right, Andy Reid at the podium met with the media today after the loss to Buffalo. Here he is starting off his press conference.
As far as the game goes, I kind of see it the same way I saw it last night. You know, two good teams playing against each other. The team that made the least mistakes ended up winning the game. Turnovers, we had talked about this during the week. Turnovers, when they win the turnover battle, they're undefeated over the last few years here. So, they got it. We were up one on them, and that's how that works. A lot of good things took place, but then there's some things we've got to clean up. We'll do that. Again, my responsibility to make sure we get that done. I appreciated the effort that the guys put in. I appreciated the young guys and the way that they competed. Everything wasn't perfect, but they competed and did it for 4 quarters. And we came up a bit short. So we got to take care of business there and get better, which I know our guys will do, and continue to work hard.
Go first to Herbie Teope. Go ahead, Herbie.
Hey, Coach. Good morning. Procedural in-house matters. Willie Gay is eligible to return from suspension today. Do you anticipate activating him today? And Brad, I'll have a second one after that.
Yeah, listen, I haven't gotten with Brad on that, but I presume that's what will take place. Yeah.
Okay. And then secondly, Coach, with his return, how will this affect the linebacker rotation you currently have with Darius Harris and Leo Chanel?
Yeah, who have done a nice job for us. So it'll be great to get Willie back in the mix on things, and then we'll just see. Spags uses a lot of different personnel groups, and to have one more good football player in there, sure will help too.
It's a big boost getting Willie Gay back. He's the juice man.
And would really help shrink down some of the spaces that the Bills' offense is capable of taking up. I mean, that is just – this team just doesn't have enough speed there. Darius Harris is a nice player. Leo Chanel should not be in coverage. Frankly, Nick Bolton should not be in coverage.
No.
Willie Gay – I think Willie Gay is this team's most important linebacker. I know that there are some people that will probably find that surprising, but I'm not even sure if it's all that close.
I think there's an argument to be made because Nick Bolton is such a sure tackler and puts the guys in the right spot and knows the calls and the adjustments and things like that. That Willie Gay can make some plays. He can blitz. He's fast. Obviously, he's athletic, moving sideline to sideline coverage. He does a lot of different things out on the field athletically and what he brings to the table. Nick Bolton, between the ears and never missing a tackle.
I hear you. That. Let me ask it this question.
Okay.
Let me ask it this way. January is here. Chiefs-Bills in Buffalo, AFC Championship game. you get to pick one of these duos to start at linebacker. It is either Darius Harris and Nick Bolton or Darius Harris and Willie Gay. I would take the second one so fast I would hurt myself, because for all of those things that are true about Nick Bolton, Darius Harris can do Nick Bolton light, and nobody on this team can do Willie Gay light. That is not a skill set anywhere else on this team. I think Darius Harris knows how to set up the defense.
My reaction to that would be, I don't know that Bolton and Harris were the issues on the defense in losing that game.
No. That's not what I'm saying.
Whereas
I'm saying Willie Gay is very, very important.
Right. Yeah. I don't think it would be like, okay, if you take Bolton out of that game on Sunday and you put Willie Gay in the game, then the Chiefs end up winning it. I don't know, because Nick Bolton made a couple sure tackles as well. That were there. Now I think
he was also rough in coverage and
for sure,
bit downfield a couple times.
And if
it's not really about Nick Bolton for me, it's about Willie Gay. The point being that Willie Gay is vital to this defense.
And I think if you take Matt Milano off the field, I think the Chiefs win, because I think he made a couple of pretty crucial plays in the game, not just on the spying of Patrick Mahomes, but the tackle he made on Isaiah Pacheco when it was 17-17 in the fourth quarter. The Chiefs ended up getting a field goal, and that was 2nd down and 10, and it was the little swing pass to Pacheco, and it was Pacheco and Milano one-on-one on the edge, and Milano made the tackle for a 3-yard loss. If he gets past Milano, there are 2 guys to beat with Kelsey and Juju on those 2 guys. I think there's a decent chance Pacheco scores a touchdown on that play if he slips the tackle of Matt Milano. He doesn't. 3rd and 13, Von Miller gets the sack, or not the sack, but Mahomes picks up, 3 yards or whatever, running around, and they kick the field goal. So that, is one of those to where Matt Milano makes that play, he doesn't make the play. That's a game-changing play that it might have been 24-17 if Milano does not make the tackle there. He's a phenomenal player. I'd like Bolton and Gay to both be out there.
Yep.
Just as Edmonds and Milano were both out there for the Bills. Andy Reid says that Trent McDuffie has a healthy week of practice, then he should be ready to go against the 49ers.
Yeah, no, if he can go this week, we'll get him in there playing. Just want to see how he does during the week, practice, and see how it feels. But yeah, if he can get back in, we'll let him play.
And then the other thing is just on the offensive line, there's been some really strong play at times, and then a little bit weaker play. Any rhyme or reason to that? Is it just the competition? Obviously, the Bills' front seven is really talented. Or are there things that maybe you could do with Andy, Heck, and just to try to improve it here midseason?
Yeah, so we've been fortunate to play some good defensive lines, and that helps you get better. And so the guys are competing, and you're going to lose every once in a while. That happens all throughout the league, and you're striving to win every battle. But at the same time, that we're playing really good, talented defensive lines. I mean, that's the bottom line. And we have another one coming up this week. So, but we look forward to those challenges because it helps you. It helps you down the road become better. And Andy is always looking for things to do up front to work the protections and that. I mean, that's not going to change. He's going to keep doing those kind of things to try to work according to what they present.
It's a good point. I mean, it's interesting the way he phrases that. We've been fortunate to play good defensive lines so far. Some would look at that the exact opposite and say, well, it's been unfortunate that this early in the season you've played 4 of your 6 games against the defensive lines. Did I say offensive line? I meant D-line. Defensive lines against Buffalo and Las Vegas and Tampa Bay and L.A., that those are 4 pretty good pass rushing teams in their front 4. That would seem unfortunate. His view is the bigger picture, obviously. 10,000-foot view of winning a Super Bowl, getting better as the season goes on. Pretty fortunate to face off against some good defensive lines that have been there. And if Bosa plays this weekend, they'll be going up against another really good defensive line.
This is maybe obvious. I don't think it is.
Maybe not. Who knows?
Because I think a lot of fans say, give me the weakest competition possible. I think a lot of analysts say, give me these teams at full strength. I actually would not mind at all the Chiefs getting a Bosa-less Niners front this week.
Yeah.
Because I kind of want to see what they look like whenever it's not Max Crosby or Von Miller making problems.
A Bosa-less, a Debo-less, an Ayuk-less, I mean, a Williams-less.
I still want to learn something from the game, but I think we could learn something from what they look like against just an average defensive
Let
line.
them coast into the bye week.
I mean, that's also fine.
Let them coast into the bye and then get set. But even like if you look ahead, it's like, okay, they've been fortunate to face off against some good defensive lines. Okay, well, if Bosa plays, they face off another one.
Yep.
Then the bye week, they won't face off against a good defensive line in the bye week because the joke would be that they're going up against them. Tennessee. I mean, you've got a good defensive tackle. At times, they could be a good defensive line. I haven't watched enough of them this year to know if it's still as good of a defensive line as we've seen in years past with the Titans, who, by the way, just cut Josh Gordon, just in case people wanted to know, old friend. Jags, good defensive line. I mean, they've drafted a lot of pieces on that defensive line. Chargers again, good defensive line. Rams, Donald. Now, they might go and get Brian Burns. He's been talked about already today. Since the Robbie Anderson trade, already it's been Rams, Brian Burns and the Rams. It's going to be L.A. Well, at that time, they might be going up against Aaron Donald and Brian Burns. Bengals. Well, you know about what the Chiefs have faced off against with Cincinnati. Denver. Then Houston. Then Seattle. Denver and Las Vegas. So they faced off against some good defensive lines, and guess what's ahead of them? A lot of really good defensive lines still that they have to play against. So I'm hoping when Andy Reid says they've been fortunate because it helps them along the way, that in fact it will help them along the way as they will face off against other good defensive lines the rest of the way.
This is more about the Chiefs defensive line, I guess, but I looked it up because we're talking about the Niners line. I remember D Ford being cut this offseason by the Niners. Do you know where he is now?
No, I don't.
He's at home. It's a judgment-free zone.
Interesting.
Should the Chiefs call D Ford?
They could certainly use some help on their defense.
He hasn't been healthy in like 3 years, and you could argue that
That's
he
right.
hasn't been healthy at any point in his NFL career.
That's
I
right.
hear you. I don't know that first step is still there at all. Frankly, I'm afraid to tweet about this because I think the response will be so vitriolic that it's not worth my time. But I'm asking it here in a safe space on the radio. Where if he gave you just like 12 pass rush reps a game.
An obvious 3rd and 13 at the
Yes,
1 yard
yes,
line for the Bills.
yes.
Put in D Ford as opposed to Frank Clark.
Is his first step more explosive than Frank Clark's right now?
Would he even be healthy in that game?
You kick Karlaftis or Dana inside. I don't know. I don't know, everybody. I don't even want to hear. If you think that's a dumb idea, I don't even want to hear about it. I just realized, you know what? He's not on a roster, and I kind of wonder.
I would say if teams thought that, he would be on a roster by now.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, Eric Fisher's on an active roster. Anthony Hitchens on an active roster.
Mm-hmm.
There's some of those guys that you'll do that with. I don't know.
Andy Reid continued at his press conference and says that getting that late field goal at the end of the first half was a big play that comes with a lot of practice.
I don't know, Aaron. I mean, we're kind of testing the clock here now. I mean, that's a pretty low number with 12. Normally, it's tough to get that much yardage that fast. But I'm proud of the way the guys handled it, and I think we were on top of it, whether it was the play calls or whether it was the execution of the plays or whether it was making sure the officials called the timeout. Everybody kind of has their piece of the pie and getting it done as fast as possible. So, I thought it was all well done. And then the kick obviously was tremendous.
Let's go next to Sarin Petro. Go ahead, Sarin.
Coach, you just a little bit more on kind of your overall philosophy when you were talking about McDuffie and how he comes back. It does seem like you like that 1 week of practice, he stays out, and then another week of practice and then ready to go. Is that more about maybe not the injury, but being in the football shape, getting the other muscles going, so maybe he doesn't aggravate something else because he's not used to the cuts and starts and stops that go with playing football?
Yeah, that was kind of the idea last week, was to test it out, see where he's at. We'll do the same thing this week. We'll see. We're not going to put him in a bad situation where he's not comfortable. So, but it's a good. Normally, you want to get him back up to speed, and you can do a lot in rehab. Rick does a great job with his people with that, but there's nothing like being on the field. I mean, Rick would be the first one to tell you this. There's nothing like being on the field and practicing and getting the game speed down, as close as you can to a game and see how it feels. So as long as he feels good this week coming up, then we'll give him a chance to play. If not, then we'll back off it.
I don't know that we will ever know, and I'm not sure Andy Reid would even answer the question, but I would love to know if this past week was the AFC Championship game and the same exact time frame from McDuffie, all of that stuff, and then it's, we want to get him back up to speed and everything if he's out there on the field, as opposed to in week 6 that it's a long season. Let's get him back up to speed, and then next week, if he still is feeling good, we'll play him against the 49ers. And then if he puts any stress on it, guess what? You get the bye week to give it a little more rest as well. Because it's one of those to where if it costs you home field advantage, and if he was fully healthy, and it was like, let's be cautious because we don't activate guys the first week they're eligible to come back and put them in there after being on IR for 4 weeks. We let him practice for a week, then we bring him back. I mean, if he was good enough to play and better than Josh Williams or Jalen Watson, then resting him for the sake of resting him seems like it's a foolish decision.
I think
but I don't know.
To the tenor of Stern's question, if you think his hamstring is not a fear, but he hasn't been doing football things for the majority of the last month, I could see you saying, hey, no, I mean, Trent McDuffie's footwork might be better than Josh Williams's, but by the time he's had to run 15 yards downfield, he's out of wind. I mean, I could see there being some wiggle room in all of that. Of maybe he could have gone, maybe he would have been 80%.
Yeah.
Even with that game being a loss where he would have helped, I'm not going to lose any sleep over them trying to make sure their number one pick this year in this year's draft is as healthy as possible for as long as possible.
I would just wonder if it was like a have-to-have-it game.
Absolutely,
you're
wondering
putting him
the
in
same
the game,
thing,
which is different than week 6 because you're right.
Is he active to play 25 snaps if it's a playoff game?
And it's a good point by Seren. If you're favoring the hamstring even a little bit, now all of a sudden you got a calf strain, and now you're out a couple 3 weeks because now your calf is injured because you're doing some other things, or your knee isn't as strong in football shape, and you get out there and those guys are 6 weeks into the season. And you haven't played since week 1. So your cuts and force of stepping on the ground and trying to backpedal and then driving, you're trying to put a little more force than your body has worked up to, whereas everybody else is in that shape. It's a good point. We'll see if he plays this week against the 49ers. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue hearing from Andy Reid next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Brisco, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Don't dab babies, okay?
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Gambling problem. Getting help is...
Did it again.
Was that one on purpose?
You son of a gun. 913-912-4810 is the text line. We'll continue hearing from Andy Reid.
I told you to stop drinking so heavily after Chiefs losses, man.
Seriously, I mean, you're supposed to be on the post-game show.
You think this giant water bottle's full of water?
I do not.
It is not.
It is.
I don't believe you.
It's full of...
I don't believe you. You spiked it, didn't you?
Chicken sauce? I don't know. You don't even eat the sauce. I don't even know what else it would be.
Don't
Just
worry.
Coke.
It's bourbon, but we watered it down with beer.
Beards has a Coke problem. This we already knew.
I do see him sniffing back there a lot.
We get allergies.
It's true. Beard, it is actually very true. So Beards loves Coca-Cola, the drink, and he has allergy problems. So whenever you say Beards has a Coke problem, and then you hear him kind of...
You always see that finger across, not like Juju with the first down marker, but the finger across the nose and the, like, oh, hey, all right, boy, you are. No wonder you're able to bounce right back from the post-game show yesterday into the early evening.
That's what it is.
Be right back here.
That's what it is.
I'm just glad I wasn't Sunday Night Football.
No kidding. Beards is in the zone right now.
There you go. Hey, one more Sunday afternoon game. Just get to repeat that one. Don't worry, there's lots of Sunday noon games.
Like
well, there's three left. There's four left.
4 of them.
Unless one of them gets flexed.
Yeah, which seems likely.
Because the Jags on the 13th noon, and then later on in the season, December 18th at Houston noon, home to Seattle Saturday at noon, and then the Broncos at noon the week after that. And then the Raiders TBD, depending on where everybody is in the standings. Andy Reid talks about the quarterbacks and says getting the ball out of the QB's hands could help the offensive line's protection, but it's a fine line that you don't want to change much about Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, we try to mix that up the best you can. You can't do one all the time and not take shots, and you can't take shots all the time and then not throw quick games. So I think he's got a pretty good feel on it. And then obviously him, when he does break the pocket, his numbers are phenomenal. So I don't want to curb that, and that's not part of it. So he's got a pretty good feel on all that stuff. There are a lot of things you can criticize when you get down to a game like this, because it's two good teams playing each other. So there are going to be some things that don't look quite as good. And I mean, they're doing the same thing. They just happen to win the game, but they're doing the same thing. Oh man, we could have done this better and that better. But they have the W. So we're there trying to make sure that we clean up our part and get the things done that we need to be better here. And so that's what we're heading with. But he has a pretty good feel on it. You don't want to take away all that good stuff that he does and his instincts there and how he handles it. He's pretty good with all that.
With Willie Gay's absence, what do you believe Nick Bolton gained most from this sort of 4-game experience? And then Brad, I'll have a follow-up.
Yeah, sure. So, listen, I mean, Bolton's got such a good feel for the game that I think you saw even more maybe of his leadership when Harris came in, although Harris is very smart too. So, and Chanel is, that's a pretty good group there. But you got to see him perform with other guys, and he's very close with Willie. I mean, they've known each other a long time, so they're very close. And it was just a little different flavor, but still very productive. I think he just adding Willie back in there is another good athlete into that mix, and that never hurts. So we'll look forward to getting him back in there.
Yeah, I mean, as you talked about, Nick Bolton, Willie Gay together certainly helps. But he's right about the offensive line and getting the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands quicker could help. But the last play, when it's an interception, it sucks. It's a great play by the Buffalo defensive player, and I keep forgetting his name.
Number 7.
It was a great play by 7.
Great play by Matt Milano, closing in on that as well, but really great play by number 7.
Here's the thing. I don't want Mahomes to start going, oh, no, conservative, throw the ball away. Oh, I'm being pressured. Let me throw the ball away. I want him to continue to be Mahomes. Yeah.
Great play by Teron Johnson, like we were all saying.
Yeah, Johnson. I mean, Johnson was big.
Big Johnson.
Yeah.
Number 7.
I mean, sliced right through. I mean, it's a big Johnson.
The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Just right on the verge of nailing it.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB, final hour of the day. Not a victory Monday for the Chiefs. 24-20, they lose to the Bills. They get ready for the 49ers coming up this weekend, 3:25 on Fox. Early in the week, so don't know the status of Bosa. Don't know the status of Trent Williams. Pretty big, impactful players.
From 2.5 to 3 already on the Chiefs. That's that little half point certainly doesn't mean a reaction to injury stuff, but just in terms of public perception, I was shocked to see this game open at 2.5.
I saw Curtis tweet that out. Was it Curtis that tweeted?
Yep.
Somebody tweeted it out.
Yep, that's right.
And I immediately opened the app and went and said, "Yeah, I'll take that." You know what? If the Chiefs end up losing this game, then I get it. I think it's going to be a closer game. I think the Chiefs will win, so I'm getting 2.5 points. Yeah, I'll take it. Or excuse me, all I have to do is give up 2.5 points. Even if they win by a field goal, still win. I'm good with it. I couldn't believe it's only 2.5, especially with some of the injuries that might be there for the 49ers. But I do fear that there might be a little bit of a letdown for the Chiefs after the Bills game, after the energy of the Raiders game, how intense the Bills game was. You're on the road at San Francisco that just lost to the Falcons, has some injuries, and then you get a week off. It's like, all right, get through this week, and then you can rest your body, rest your mind a little bit, take a few days off and sort of recharge, just get through this week. I don't think that's how championship teams approach things. So I think they'll win, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's a closer game. But if all I'm giving up is 2.5, I'll take it.
I know that canonically you are the one on this show with the gambling problem, and it's really
not true.
Well, so here's what I'd like to offer. I'd like to offer you another new segment. I'm just filled with segment ideas today.
Yes.
Earlier it was Josh's negative take or whatever.
Yep.
Right now it's Jason talk me out of. ...
All right.
So today, here in the first ever edition of Jason Talk Me Out Of, a 3-team teaser with the Chiefs getting plus 3.5 with the Niners next week, the Chargers getting 2.5 tonight against the Broncos, and the Ravens teased all the way down to a pick'em next week against the Browns. Jason, talk me out of it.
Is that in Baltimore?
I believe so. Hold on, Beards.
It is in Baltimore.
Hold on. Let me make one. Oh God, no, I don't want to fight the liner. I agree with Braden Gall. Nobody cares about your fantasy team or your lost bets. This though is a bet preview. This is a hey. Is this a good idea as a bet? Not feel bad for me for my failed bet.
Because you know what people care about?
Winning money.
They care about Lee Sterling and Fat Jack and the different people we have on the shows that come on. Adam Kaplan does a really good job of prognosticating as well. They care about those things.
In Baltimore, I know they can't close out games, but I think the Ravens are actually good. The Browns' defense is an atrocity.
And Brissett is an atrocity.
Yeah, so the Chiefs would get a field goal in the hook. The Chargers, I'm just getting 2.5 is whatever. I think they win tonight, probably comfortably. But I like a teaser, and point spreads scare me sometimes. Getting the Ravens all the way to a pick feels like a real winner for me.
I like that.
I do too.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay, well you failed the game the first time because what I need you to do is talk me out of making these bets. But I'm going to go ahead and 1 month mortgage or 2. Do you think?
Now, if you said, Jason, talk me out of, I'm going to put my mortgage on the Panthers to beat the Bucs straight up.
Well, it's like the money line.
They're 10.5-point dogs, but it's plus 400 for them to win. Talk me out of putting my entire mortgage on the Panthers to win. Can't do it. I think it's it's a guaranteed win.
No Robbie Anderson. That was locker room cancer. This team,
absolutely.
CMC is going for 400 yards.
You think the Bucs are good? I mean, maybe the Bucs aren't as good as we thought they were when the Chiefs went in there and whooped them.
I think that's almost certainly true, actually.
You know who the Bucs couldn't beat? A Trubisky-led Steelers squad.
Woo!
That's who they couldn't beat. Couldn't score on a Fitzpatrick and Bosa-less or a Watt-less Steelers defense. No Fitzpatrick, no Watt. Scored 18 points.
Okay, so I'm going to go Chargers money line tonight,
Uh-huh.
Panthers money
Yep,
line
that's right.
next week.
Mortgage.
Entire mortgage.
I'm going a 10-unit play. No,
I'm doing a 100-unit play.
doing a $100,000 play.
I am selling my kidneys online right now to put it all on the Panthers.
Good for you.
If the Panthers win next weekend, we have to get all this audio.
Andy Reid at his press conference continued, and he says that Willie Gay should be able to jump right back in since he's gotten to be around the team these past 2 weeks of his suspension.
Yeah, well, I'm glad they let the league lets him back in with the group. I mean, that's a good place for him to be and stay in tune with the game. So when he has an opportunity to get back in, he knows what's going on. I mean, things go fast in the National Football League, and a week seems like an eternity, and things change. You're always growing in certain areas. So to be back in the room, at least he can kind of grow with the guys scheme wise and do what he can do on the field here. We'll just see where he's at on the field this week.
Hey, Coach, I want to circle back to the offensive line a little bit. You guys have been pretty multiple up front with your blocking schemes. What would you say the identity of this group is and what they do best right now?
Yeah, well, they're a tough group. They did a decent job with the pass protection yesterday against a good defensive front. Run game, we got to clean a couple things up there, but there were some good things, and then there were some things we got to take care of. But what their identity is, I think it's probably too early in the season. I like doing identities at the end of the year, not at the beginning. But I know they're a tough group if you want to, a feisty group. So that's you can take that for right now, and then we'll see how we grow.
I mean, it's a great question.
Yeah.
I would love to know what their identity is. And that's kind of the commentary within the question.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have an answer for you. I think they're above average. I think they give Mahomes, for the most part, enough time to throw. I think they should be a better running team, but I also don't eliminate the fact that might be scheme, that it doesn't seem like the smartest of ideas to have Clyde Edwards-Helaire running side to side, running horizontal with the line of scrimmage. Doesn't seem to be the fastest guy to be able to do that. So maybe that is part of the issue. I do believe they should be better, though, than what they've shown, and they've been really inconsistent. They've been challenged one game, and then went out and answered the call. They were okay yesterday, and maybe an offensive line, guru, maybe Duke Manyweather might go, actually, I've watched the tape. Against the Bills, this offensive line showed out. And here was an opportunity where Mahomes should have thrown the ball. And here was the read here, and this guy's open, and you got to know with this protection here, sliding over that way, that you don't have this over there, so you got to throw the ball here. That's your hot route, just go over there, red 7. You got to know those things. Like somebody that will be looking at the tape, looking at the film, might come away with a different version of that. I thought they played okay. The running game is one that continues to be perplexing because teams are going to continue, and I think smartly, taking a page out of the Bengals and the Bills in we'll rush 3. Our fourth rusher will have as a spy on Mahomes, and we'll drop 7. And so we're kind of dropping 8 if Mahomes is in the pocket because anything right underneath is a spy, and we can play the clip of Mahomes after we get done with Andy Reid, him talking about that last interception, because that's kind of what threw that whole play off. But I don't know their identity. I have no idea. I would not be able to guess. But at the end of the season, Andy Reid will tell us. So that's good. I like coming up with that. Okay, great. I'll give you my prediction for the schedule and the record for the Chiefs at the end of the year.
It could be post Super Bowl victory, or it could be post first round exit. And if somebody asks Andy Reid about the offensive line's identity, he will go, it's either good enough or not good enough or whatever. It just worked.
It wasn't good enough. Yeah.
I'm not sure Andy Reid's going to give us that book report he just promised, but I'd like to hear it.
Post Super Bowl in Arizona if they win. All right, Andy, what's the identity? It's Super Bowl champion offensive line. That's the identity.
Right.
Well, son of a.
Come on, Andy.
Just give us an answer, damn it. All right, Andy Reid says that they had some missed opportunities in the fourth quarter, especially on the drive that eventually led to the field goal that put them up 20-17.
Yeah, sure. No, you analyze that. That's a good point there, Sam. That the screen, we actually had an alert on that play where we could go to a screen against a certain look. We did it, and we were just off by a tick. I mean, he catches that, and that's the throw catch deal. That's a big play. Obviously, the run. 58 did a nice job with the tackle. You got to get your feet up, and you can learn from that. Now that's a young kid right there, but it's very, very intense and tough. But you can try to kick yourself out of that the best you can. Although it was a good tackle, you give him credit on that. And then Pat was trying to make something happen with the throw. I believe it was 3rd and 13 or somewhere in that area, and yeah, potentially he could have run down the left side, but he was trying to get a little bit more with the throw if he could to get a first down. But it was, he chose that, and that's what you go with, and right or wrong.
Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Andy, a couple things. First of all, just curious where you feel you are with the pass rush part of it right now. And Brad, I'll have a second question as well.
Yeah, I thought we did a good job. When we didn't get there, we at least blocked a few throws. And you're not talking about a shorter quarterback there. He's a big kid. We were able to block a couple of them there. But we'll always be growing there with it. But we seem to get decent pressure at times on them, and that's an important thing that we keep getting better at down the road.
Okay, and I know you guys did your research on Juju before you signed him, obviously, like you do for everybody. But have you learned anything from him now, having him as part of your team for 6 months or whatever it's been?
Yeah, Juju loves to play the game, and that's the part I appreciate about him. And he's really tough, and he's very strong. So, but he loves to play, and those kind of guys can hang with me all day. I mean, I like that.
He had his coming out party. He had a huge day, did Juju Smith-Schuster, and that long touchdown that kind of got things going on, what was that, 3rd down and 10, 3rd and 9. It was after the offsetting penalties with the holding on offense, holding on defense, and so they got another crack at it. Mahomes doing his running around thing, creating, and finds Juju Smith-Schuster. It's great when it works. When it doesn't work, which throw the ball away, punt, live another day.
Take the 3. I mean, you could tie the game up there. Just got to throw that away. Take the 3 there. Field goal range. Come on.
Which, by the way, I mean, Andy Reid with his dumbass decision to go for it on 4th and 2 on the first drive.
How dare he?
Just take the 3 points.
How dare he?
Put 3 on the board. I mean, you pick up the first down, and now what? You turn it over.
Exactly.
Nice job, idiot. God.
There was some Buffalo had a couple of 4th down ones. Did it matter? Who's to say?
Yeah. Hey, Andy, what would you rather have, 3 or 0, you idiot?
Josh Allen on fourth and goal down there. There was pressure. Tried Isaiah McKenzie.
Yeah.
Turnover on downs.
And luckily, the eye on Chiefs got Isaiah McKenzie covered because nobody else was covering him.
That throw was a little rushed. I'm giving the pass rusher a little credit on that one.
I'll give the pass rusher a little credit.
But also Isaiah McKenzie's feet get some credit.
I'm not sure what Isaiah McKenzie was doing on that play because that was an easy touchdown.
Yeah. Moving fast. Ball was maybe a little behind him. Tried to pull up a tiny bit and got caught by his own feet.
I don't think it was behind him all that much. I think it looked behind him once he tripped and then fell forward.
I think that makes sense.
I think he just looked like Beards out there playing. Sorry, Beards.
Whoa! Hey, play that gambling prop liner again, huh?
Why? I didn't put money on Beards to catch a touchdown. That would have been a problem.
That would have been foolish.
Anytime touchdown, Beards.
Beards McFly plus 10 billion.
So I was gonna go 10 million, but you beat me to 10 billion.
I mean, look. Here's the thing. At either of those ratios, I'd put $1 on it.
Yeah.
Probably not 2, but 1.
Yeah. Juju 5 for 113 and a touchdown, the 42-yarder. He was good.
I believe the first 100-yard receiving day for a Chiefs wide receiver this year. which
makes
would
sense,
be, of course, Juju's first 100-yard game, and I think MVS was just a little short of that last week. But yeah, it's a very interesting group, this core of pass catchers.
Patrick Mahomes was not wrong when he said, I apologize to fantasy football owners out there because 1 week it'll be this guy, 1 week it'll be that guy. Last week it was MVS and that Mahomes connection of 90 some odd yards. And then it's like, all right, MVS Mahomes connection. Your daily fantasy, your fantasy football team, whatever it might be, or your single game parlays with, are you serious? MVS's over-under is 39.5? He's connecting with Mahomes.
Certainly he's going to score at least. The anytime touchdown, I mean, MVS really had two. He had the pick and then the one that was undone by the penalty that was
He did have an anytime touchdown.
Mahomes at the angle.
Yeah, but he did have a touchdown. It was the fact that Creed Humphrey can't drift 3 yards down the field.
Roma made the point on the broadcast that was late enough that Mahomes had the little hesitation, kind of pump fake, and then by the time he released it, Creed had gotten too far downfield.
My response to Romo is, why was Creed the only one down the field?
I do think that is fair, and I think that you have to kind of strafe your way out there a little bit when you know Mahomes is your quarterback.
I watched it a couple times this morning because I was wondering about that, and Orlando Brown and Joe Thuney both get to a certain spot and then just stop.
Yeah.
And Creed Humphrey continues to sort of drift and drift and drift. And by the time the ball is thrown, he's 3 yards downfield. And it's like, that's just mental. Because Thuney and Brown stop.
Right.
They get to a point and they just check up, and then they're sort of stalk blocking. Creed just drifts. Cost him 7 points.
Pretty much touchdown. Yep.
Mahomes' interception on a couple plays later cost him, 3 points. Those are mistakes, and as Andy Reid started his press conference saying, the team that made the least mistakes won.
Yep, and that's true.
I
just think that's accurate. Yeah,
totally
however you want to slice up what a mistake is, Did Joshua Williams make mistakes, or he just get beat by a really good receiver a couple times?
Yeah,
probably the latter.
Yeah,
but the mistakes.
But Creed Humphrey drifting an extra yard and a half past where the other offense. It's like in soccer. Like all of a sudden you got somebody that should be offsides.
That
only
really
this
was
guy
a soccer offsides call.
This guy, drifted 2 or 3 yards back behind the line, and now it's not offsides anymore because the line is like, whoa, where are you at? Everybody else on the offensive line stopped at a certain spot, and Creed drifted.
Makes me sad.
It sucks that it happened, but, it happened. And Andy Reid is right. The missed opportunities on the drive that when it was 17-17 in the fourth quarter with, about 12 and change left to go in the game, tied 17. They get a field goal on that drive. But there were many missed opportunities on that one. The big one being the fact that it should have been 1st and 10 at the 11-yard line after the long Travis Kelce catch. Instead, it turns out to be 1st and 20. Chiefs pick up the first down. And Andy Reid is right. The screen that they had set up with Michael Burton was so open. Mahomes has to give him a better ball. I don't know if I should say like Burton's got to catch that because then he's turning around and reaching his hands out. He's a fullback. If he was that agile, he probably wouldn't be a fullback. So he reaches out, tries to stick a hand out there to catch it. Maybe a different effort he comes up with it. I don't know. But Mahomes needs to put the ball on him all day to run. Wide open. And then 2nd down and 10, we talked about the Pacheco play where he catches the ball in the flat and Milano tackles him for a 3-yard loss. And if he gets through the arms, because Milano got his legs, at the bottom of like his ankles, if he slips that tackle somehow, I'm telling you, I think there's a chance he scores. Because I'll wait for the all-22 to come out. But I tried to watch it so many different times to see where the players might have been when the screen pans to the left.
Downfield, yeah.
But as he's tackled and the screen fades out, what you see is Kelce and a guy and Juju and a defender. And that's it over on that side. That if he were to slip and go down the sideline, those were the 2 guys that he would have to beat. And you've got 2 of the better blockers downfield in the game in Juju and Travis Kelce. They made a play.
Yep.
They made a play. Refs made a play. They didn't make a completed pass on a screen, the Chiefs, and then the Bills made a play. So all 3. Refs, Chiefs mistake, Bills.
Plenty to spread around there. Absolutely. Which, again, is one of the reasons that I think it's a little less infuriating than, like, the Colts game.
Yeah.
The Colts game, we knew exactly what went wrong, and it was really easy to point to and go, wow, that's embarrassing. They can't let that happen again. In this case, because you can kind of spread out the blame or the credit so thinly to so many different places, That's how by the end of the post-game show last night, I was kind of ready for the Niners because I just think we kind of saw what we saw. I don't think you have to decode too much of this. These are two really good teams where the Bills got the better of a lot of those fine margin sort of things.
And by the way, there were other plays in which the Chiefs made.
Sure. Yeah.
There were plays in which the Chiefs found a way to come. Patrick Mahomes on 4th and 2 picks up 8 yards.
Yep.
That mattered. Well, actually, it didn't. That was in the interception drive.
Well,
that's right. Because Andy Reid should have kicked the field goal there.
Exactly.
Idiot. Oh, let me go and try to get 7.
Let me let Patrick Mahomes do the right thing.
He picks up the first down. Now I'm smart. Oh, interception. I'm stupid. I'm a dumbhead.
It's Jason Anderson's impression there, just for everybody. If anyone hasn't gotten, figured out to tell our voices apart or something. What was that? Jason impression.
But to the point of plays that the Chiefs did make that get overlooked in a loss, the Chiefs had the ball tied 17 in the fourth quarter. Because on 3rd and 1, Darius Harris made a phenomenal play.
Great play.
Getting in the backfield, wrapping up Singletary for a 2-yard loss. And then the Chiefs got after Allen, pressured him. He tried to step up in the pocket, saw that there wasn't a running lane, and then threw it late to Stephon Diggs, and it was incomplete. On 4th and 3. They get the ball.
Another reason that I hate starting any of these conversations with blaming the defense.
Yeah.
The Chiefs had the ball tied at 17, and then they had the ball up 20-17 late in the game, and they lost. That one, you're up 20-17. Again, you are tied 17 apiece. They settled for a field goal, and they punted back after an incredibly conservative drive.
It is hard to blame the defense when, with 5.5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, the Bills have scored 17 points.
Yep, sure
It
is.
is really difficult to say, well, the defense couldn't come through and get a stop. No, they couldn't. That's right. Of course, they wouldn't have needed that stop if the Chiefs, with 7.5 minutes to go, up by 3, would not have just simply gone 3 and out. Could have been different. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We got Learn Funniest Best coming up on the other side. More Zone next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Brisco, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
I'm going to get to this point and then I'm going to stop.
Looking forward to it.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Time for a little Learn Funniest Best from the weekend. Go around the room. What we learned, the funniest was, and what the best was from the weekend that was. No Mick Schaefer today. Sorry, everybody.
Man of the people.
I know you guys are tuning in just to hear him, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles.
Hey, you know what? Maybe he'll be here at 1:55. You probably shouldn't turn off the station and just wait and see if he gets here.
Maybe.
At that point, even if he's not, the program starts at 2. That's pretty good.
That's right.
So I would,
Only a half hour away.
Even if you're just here for Mick, I'd wait and see if he shows up.
Only a half hour away from that. All right, so
Hey, I'm Mick Schaefer. I was in the lake this weekend. Bah. I don't like fish. Hey, Mick.
So not even like shrimp or anything?
No, I don't like shrimp and none of that.
Interesting. Like
I hate
scallops.
my family and fish.
Oh.
I'm Mick Schaefer.
Like mussels or anything? All right, learn funniest best from the weekend that was. I meant to find the sound from this and I didn't, so it's my fault. But
we blame Beards.
Alabama and Tennessee in the third quarter. Hat tip to my brother on this one. I learned that we still have problems knowing what the down is. And we were so close to a 5th down some 32 years later from the Mizzou, Colorado 5th down that a sentence that was actually used in a football game, the ruling of 4th down is now under review. The scoreboard had it as a 4th down. The sideline judge, the sticks, had it as a 3rd down. The marker, the down marker, had it 3rd down. Run the play? No. That's 4th down. They didn't get it. It's now 5th down. Wait a minute, we think it's 4th down. But you say it's 3rd down over there. Well, we got to go and review what down it is. The ruling of 4th down is now under review. Is something that was said in 2022. And by the way, couldn't there have been official that just said, hey, that was for you don't have to go and actually review it. You don't need to go to the monitor to then count play 1, play 2, play 3,
what was
play
the play?
4. Oh,
what was the play in Chiefs Bills? I think it was Chiefs Bills. Maybe it was in a different game beforehand. But basically that exact thing happened where they said after discussion, the ruling, whatever, and then somebody said, "Oh, that just means that they got like a buzz down from New York."
That was the Bills game.
Isn't that we were just talking about in the break? Wasn't that the Jerick McKinnon 3rd down and 10? He got 9.5.
Oh, it may have been because it wasn't a penalty situation, but it was the marking of the ball.
So they
I think
moved
you're right.
it ahead. Then they had to bring the chains back, and then it was like, no, it's short. After discussion, it was.
After discussion, and then somebody made the point that, the phrase after discussion.
No, I'm wrong.
Okay.
It was the lateral. It was the fumble at the beginning of the game with the
Isaiah
Bills.
McKenzie, lateral
after
back.
discussion, it has been ruled a
fumble. That's right.
Yeah.
And during that time,
that's right.
Nobody died. And we all just sat there.
I disagree. I guarantee you,
somewhere in the world,
in that time when the refs were talking, somebody somewhere passed away.
We sat there for 15 freaking seconds. The refs went, "Hey, do you know what's going on?" "No, I'm not sure. Hold on, let me put my finger up to my ear." They said it's a fumble. Chiefs ball. Why is that so hard? They did the thing that I've been asking them to do. They did it all the way from New York. Just have a ref in the booth that can do that. Hey, everybody, we're getting better. That way we can always be sure that we're not reviewing the call of 4th down.
No, it's great.
Anyway.
So what was the result of that?
It was a 4th down.
Okay.
Yeah, they didn't get a 5th down. They went back and counted. And like, oh, wait, that was 4th down. Okay. We thought we had it right, but the stick said 3rd down, and it was now 4th down. I don't know. Who knows?
Dang sticks guy.
Falls down a well, the eyes go cross, gets kicked by a mule, they go uncrossed. I don't know. What'd you learn there, Josh?
You mentioned this name with Field Yates earlier. I was really glad we didn't get any further into it because I just need a moment to talk about how much I learned about the Carolina Panthers and how much they are desperate to trade Christian McCaffrey. Now, you might be going, Josh, are you sure he's a really good player? Wasn't there a report on Saturday that Adam Schefter tweeted? Yeah, let me tell you a little bit about this reporting here. So Adam Schefter tweets, the Carolina Panthers are listening to other teams about a potential trade for star running back Christian McCaffrey, although a deal might not be easy to complete, league sources tell ESPN. Well, then I click the story. That verbatim is the first paragraph. Here's the rest of the story. The next couple paragraphs.
And now the rest of the story.
The Panthers rebuffed at least 2 teams' inquiries into trading for McCaffrey last week and will continue to reject overtures that they don't consider to be significant offers, according to sources. Although the Panthers have been listening, it hardly means they are dealing McCaffrey. If the Panthers do not receive what they feel is a real offer with a high draft pick or multiple picks, they are adamant they will hold on to McCaffrey past the NFL's trade deadline. Peter Schrager later said, the Panthers approached by multiple teams for trades will listen if offers include multiple first-round picks. Minutes after Schefter's story goes out, Ian Rappaport mysteriously reports the Panthers are receiving significant interest in running back Christian McCaffrey, and they are expected to listen to trade offers, but it won't be a fire sale. Everybody, come on into the media tent here with me for a little bit.
Yeah, I'm in.
We're all in the media tent. I want to. Hey, anybody want to see some sausage you get made real quick?
You said the media tent. Someone see some sausage. I'm glad you ended it with get made.
The Carolina Panthers are desperate to get a decent offer for Christian McCaffrey. What they have put out into the NFL world is that lots of teams are interested, but boy, that price sure is high.
Uh-huh.
Ain't nobody sending 2 first-round picks for a running back that isn't healthy, is still a running back, and is aging deeper and deeper into his very lucrative contract. The Panthers are desperately trying to drum up some interest in Christian McCaffrey, and they have not gotten any bites on that worm just yet. If they trade McCaffrey, it will be for a significantly less haul than the way the insiders painted it to be this weekend when they were getting some info, I believe, from Carolina that was trying to just grease the wheels a little bit. That's my tinfoil hat conspiracy theory that I feel pretty confident about.
Brad Spielberger, that works at Pro Football Focus and does the salary cap situation and breakdown there at PFF, he put out the contract situation for McCaffrey and Cam Akers and also William Jackson for the Commanders that is going to be traded. So salary cap implications, teams that would be interested and could make a trade, and then what the hypothetical trade would look like in compensation. He has the team fits. He's got 4 of them: Buffalo, Denver, Los Angeles Rams, and San Francisco. By the way, if McCaffrey's in Buffalo, that would scare the bejesus out of me. His hypothetical trade is that the Bills end up with McCaffrey, and they send a 2023 4th rounder and a 2024 2nd rounder for Christian McCaffrey.
And if that happens, I'm assuming the Panthers would be eating some money as well.
Yeah.
It will be that. It will not be. They'll listen if it includes multiple first-round picks.
Yeah.
The Panthers aren't happy with the offers they've gotten. That's my read on it. That's what I learned, in fact.
The salary cap hit this year for McCaffrey, if he's traded right now, is $575,000. The cap hit for Christian McCaffrey this year, if he's traded right now, is $575,000. It goes down for the team receiving it. It goes down as the weeks go and less prorated. Next year, it's a $12 million base salary, but there's no guaranteed money connected with it. It's $1 million injury guarantee, and then 12 after that and 12 after that as well. So whatever you're trading for him could be a 1-year deal, could be a 2-year deal, could be a rental, could be a 3.
Or you're trading for him and immediately giving him another new contract.
Right, yeah.
And nobody needs that business.
A lot of things. The Bills would be interesting if they traded for him because they are already $9 million over the cap next year with 35 players.
Very different game to say Christian McCaffrey for a 4th and Christian McCaffrey for a pair of firsts.
Yes, and also a different game when you say, I think he's going to end up in Buffalo. Okay. So it might be just a rental for Christian McCaffrey this year, and then they move on from him because, as I said, they're already $9 million over the cap for next year, and they have 35 players under contract. Chiefs are $20 million under right now. Now, they don't have Orlando Brown signed, right? There are other things that they haven't.
Chris Jones might get re-signed.
L'Jarius Sneed's contract negotiation window open. So a lot of things that could be moved around. But again, they're already 9 over. So maybe they end up with Christian McCaffrey, which I would hate to see that happen. What did you learn, Beards?
I saw this tweet from Brett Coleman over the weekend. Patrick Mahomes is only in his 5th year as a starter in the NFL, and he is on pace to pass the career yardage for every single Bears quarterback in their entire franchise history by roughly week 17.
That's pretty good.
Wow, yeah.
That's pretty good. More like skinny bear week, huh?
Like lean bear week.
Lean bear week, yeah, absolutely.
All right, funniest. We start with you, Brisco.
Beard, you have that audio?
You got the audio?
I have it.
This is courtesy of Sunday Night Football. Chris Collinsworth was...
it is courtesy of Chris Collinsworth.
It's just courtesy of Chris Collinsworth.
How about if you get a little taste of Landon Dickerson coming right down your throat?
God. I mean, he did that on purpose, right?
Did what?
Oh, just explain the play. He explained the play on purpose because that's his job as color commentator, is to give some color to what the regular play-by-play guy would do. So he did that on purpose, right? Because he's just offering what was going on.
How about if you get a little taste of Landon Dickerson coming right down your throat?
Why did he emphasize a certain syllable? And he put an emphasis on a certain syllable.
You mean we went Landon?
Yes.
How about if you get a little taste of Landon Dickerson coming right down your throat?
No, it was Landon Dickerson! It was the Urson that was really the emphasis that was there.
Tell you what, sure was colorful.
He 100% did that on purpose, right?
I don't know what you're talking about.
He said a taste. Listen to it again.
I'd love to listen to it again.
It almost feels like there's somewhat of a sophomoric, obviously.
Sort of a tongue-in-cheek sort of thing going on here?
Like a kind of an under-the-breath chuckle there that you can kind of hear in maybe his cadence and tone.
I don't know. Let's hear it again.
How about if you get a little taste of Landon Dickerson coming right down your throat?
The coming right down your throat was like a coming right down your throat.
Sorry, anyway, that's actually not the audio. I was just going to say something funny about, Chris Collinsworth. I don't know.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
it was about...
I didn't think that clip was funny at all.
The funny part was that Landon Dickerson, the way that he had hit the defender and fell over, and then he slipped and fell, and it was like yakety sax was played, and you couldn't hear all of that. It's that was more for the video side.
Yeah, I actually edited the wrong part. I can't believe I accidentally made this my funniest thing from the weekend.
How about if you get a little taste of Landon Dickerson coming right down your throat?
What was your funniest thing, Beards?
My funniest was the stat that I saw from Brett Coleman on Twitter. It was Patrick Mahomes is only in his 5th year as a starter in the NFL, and he's on pace to pass the career yardage for every single Bears quarterback in their entire franchise history by roughly week 17.
Man, that is good. I'm glad I learned that, and funniest did that.
It was pretty funny.
Now you got that stat coming down your throat.
No. My funniest was from Sunday Night Football. And there was a running play where Landon Dickerson and Chris Collinsworth, and it sounded like this.
How about if you get a little taste of Landon Dickerson coming right down your throat?
That was my funniest from the weekend. I don't know what your guys' funniest was.
That was just crazy status about the Bears.
No, I had another funniest from the weekend, and that is the Patriots and Browns. The Browns were getting the ball back and thinking, okay, maybe they got a chance to score here and make it close, and they fumbled the punt. They muffed the punt. And it was recovered by Brendan Schooler. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Rookie from Texas. Did you see this video by any chance? Brendan Schooler was so excited about this. On the sideline, the camera was on him. He went to give Bill Belichick the ball as like a gift, right?
Yeah.
And he puts it in the belly of Bill Belichick, who just stands there. And as you can imagine, Bill Belichick, very stoic, looking down at the football, looking at Brendan Schooler. And you can see Bill Belichick's mind going, what the bleep are you doing? He makes no expression. He looks at him, looks at the football, looks around. The equipment guy comes over so fast and immediately goes and reaches for the football. And it was like picture a quarterback with a read option.
Yes.
And the mesh point, pulling it
Yes.
out of the mesh point of the belly. And that's what this equipment took it from the hands of Schooler, who was holding it to the belly of Bill Belichick, like you would hold headphones to a pregnant woman for the baby to hear music. He was holding this football there, and the equipment manager comes and grabs it and takes it back, and then they walk away, and Bill Belichick looks so annoyed.
So good.
So annoyed that he just turns around, and it's like, what are you doing? Was he really giving that as a gift?
I heard somebody, I never saw the clip, but I heard somebody mention it as like a cat bringing a dead mouse and dropping it at your feet. Like, hey, I got you this gift, but you're just staring at this dead mouse going, great, that's awesome, Mr. Fuzzles, but I don't want this here. That's Bill Belichick. It's Bill saying, I don't really need this football right now. I don't really.
You want to see it?
You want to take it? You want to just take
see
it back where you got it from outside?
Here it is. He's putting it in his... Look, Bill Belichick's, what are you doing?
He does. So Belichick does put a hand up to it at least before the equipment guy is like, all right.
He's like holding it underneath, like, what is going on? He's so confused.
Coach, look what I did.
It's a football.
It's like a football.
I recovered this football. We're going to win.
This football's for us.
Yes. Thank you for giving me a chance.
I got you this football, Coach. Merry Christmas. It's early.
Odds Bill Belichick knows that guy's name.
I bet about as high as Andy Reid knowing Devin Bush's name. Devin Bush plays for the Steelers. Deion Bush is a chief.
He presented him with the football, the muffed punt recovered football.
It's awesome. Cat and a dead mouse.
All right, what was your best from the weekend, Beards?
I was going to originally mention about how Rings of Power was great, and everybody should watch it, especially Josh.
Yep.
But then I saw this tweet from Brett Coleman on Twitter.
He's a good follow. I like Brett.
It said that Patrick Mahomes is only in his 5th year as a starter in the NFL, and he's on pace to pass the career yardage for every single Bears quarterback in their entire franchise history.
Wow.
By roughly week 17.
They've been around for a long time, those Bears.
They have been.
How about that, man?
That's incredible.
Interesting.
But anyway, watch Rings of Power. It's great.
Tell me about it on Wednesday. We'll see. Shot clock reviews, you know.
The best from the weekend for me was, so Sunday Night Football, there was a play with Landon Dickerson, and Chris Collinsworth had the color commentary on it. It sounded like this.
How about if you get a little taste of Landon Dickerson coming right down your throat?
Come on, man. I don't know. I don't know how he can do that.
Actually, my best from this weekend is Lane Kiffin tweeting the picture of Nick Saban and then putting in the bottle of mustard hitting Nick Saban and just tweeting out a laughing emoji. Lane Kiffin.
That's good.
I mean, he's got no chill.
No, he's incredible. My best from the weekend came from the same game. Because the University of Tennessee, these numbers here courtesy of Joe Pompliano on Twitter. The University of Tennessee, a school with a $1.34 billion endowment and $150 million in annual athletic revenue, set up a GoFundMe, which I believe they actually call like a VolFundMe or something.
Yeah.
To buy them new goalposts.
Volraiser or something.
Yeah, that seems right. They were not raising any new goalposts, although apparently, I imagine actually they may have gotten this money raised. It was immediately filling up pretty quickly.
Unbelievable.
They went to the fans and said, hey, guys, I know the president of the university was just on video saying, hey, doesn't matter to me. We'll pay for these new goalposts every year if we keep beating Alabama. Well, they need some help now to buy some new goalposts because there's apparently no money in the SEC.
It's embarrassing.
It really is.
Man, Texas and Oklahoma really screwed up on that one, huh?
They're gonna be broke, man. There's no money in the SEC. Oklahoma and Texas fans are gonna have to buy new goalposts for OU and Tennessee and OU and Texas, and the unlikely occasion that they win a home game.
That's because you're using it to pay all those players.
Hey, you want an alternate funniest of the weekend?
Well, I want to see. Have they got to the? Have they met their goal?
I did not double check. I was
not yet.
With the screenshot.
They have not met their goal.
Good.
Their goal is 150,000. They have raised.
Oh my God.
Since they started this yesterday at 2:20.
I bet this is really close.
In 24 hours for new goalposts, they have raised $92,571 from their fans to pay for goalposts at Tennessee that has an athletic budget of $135 million. and people actually are donating to this. You idiots. Idiots. You got another funniest?
Just a real quick one. Yeah, did you see Tyrann Mathieu tackle Jamar Chase?
No, I didn't.
Me neither.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts. You're in the zone.
Like, I didn't wake up this morning and say, I hope Mecole Hardman hurts a groin today.
With Jason Anderson.
I hope Mecole Hardman hurts a groin today.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
I'll take Mecole Hardman's groin. All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson, Josh Brisco, Beards, heading up until 2 o'clock. The program, Whistler and Petro, comes your way He will continue the conversation of Chiefs and Bills 24-20. Not a victory Monday.
Pretty presumptive. We're going to talk about Chiefs Bills, you think, on the program? I'm not going to tell Stern how to do the show.
Maybe they talk Oklahoma State, TCU, K-State in action this weekend.
I bet they'll talk about Chiefs Bills.
KU in action this weekend.
Think they had any thoughts about Landon Dickerson last night?
They might have. I don't know. Yeah.
Carson Wentz looking like he's going to be about 4 to 6 weeks, by the way.
Oh, so is maybe Taylor Heineke going to play?
Taylor Heineke. Look, this is the Beards quarterbacks who talked to Almost Entirely Sports at Radio Row last year. Cooper Rush, Taylor Heineke.
Note to self, don't let Brisco interview Chad Henne. Program next.